where we've been. And all I know is that if you can't find me, you may never want to find me again. Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Tuesday night, Friday night, and we are here for episode 12 of the Barroom Podcast. Yes, this is the first time we've actually done this on a Tuesday rather than a Friday. So how's the change coming for some of you guys? Are you feel all wonky now that we're shaking things up a little bit?
I'm tired.
It's fine.
Yeah, pretty much everyone's feeling tired and beat up and jet lagged and somehow still trying to recover from other time zones and other things. You can hear it in my voice. I'm stuffed up just a little bit, but I'll be fine. I've gone through a little bit worse. But we are here tonight with the Barroom Podcast, and we do have some of our regulars who are back with us once again tonight. We have Quote Classic Cage, who just got back from, I don't know what video game presentation that happened earlier today, but it's like, there hasn't been any good news in the world of video games recently.
Well, they got a couple of things. It's mostly, funny enough, everything I'm interested in comes from China, from Chinese developers, because they're the only ones that seem to be pushing gameplay, whereas a lot of games that are being made in the West are just the same generic fodder. But Callisto Protocol is definitely a cool game. If you're into Dead Space, you might find that of interest.
Oh, if you like the old school Dead Space, you said?
Yep.
If you like the old school Dead Space, I would recommend it. But I mean, that was one of those series that I kind of fret them trying to remake it now, like 10 years later. It's like, oh boy, how are you going to screw this one up?
It's handled by the actual director of the game. The reason why 3 was so bad was because EA put their fucking grubby mitts in it, sort of deal. Yeah. So, if I think that in terms of what we've seen, it's gonna hold true to the Dead Space franchise.
Well, there are some video game news we're going to talk about later tonight. But before we get into that, our man Rob Motto, who's back with us once again after joining us last night on the Monday Night Review Club. How you doing tonight, Rob?
Good. Just, not really looking forward to... I mean, I got the email from Regal, like, updating my monthly subscription, and I'm just trying to think, like, what's coming up that I'm going to want to see. I know we're going to be, reviewing stuff going forward, but just stuff I'm looking forward to. There's not much on the docket, so buckle in. It's going to be a real bumpy ride to the end of the year.
Yeah, it's going to be a very hard ride up until December, let's just put it that way. And we haven't even gotten to the worst of it yet, but it'll get worse slowly but surely. But speaking of bad writing, we do have someone on the show who's not a bad writer. C.S. Johnson, how you doing tonight?
Thank you. I come here. I just come here to have you sing my praises. So thank you.
You come here fishing for compliments. That's the only reason why you're on the show.
Jacob, yep, you found my weakness.
I do want to point out that somehow we end up having like 13% female viewership on this channel, and I like to think that maybe one of you two are partially responsible for that. Now I know it's not Cassie because she tries to
resent that.
Yeah, okay. She actively tries to chase away any female representation on her show. So maybe it's
yes. I was upset that my female representation on my channel went up to 4%. Depressing.
Well, I don't know. Something's drawing a small group of women to this channel. So I mean, there's that, right?
How dare they?
Oh well, I don't know. I don't know.
Serious counts for 3%.
Yes.
Well, I still don't know that much about gaming, and when I say that, I mean like I stopped caring after Mario.
Like Super Nintendo Mario? Like, are we going all the way back in the day, or?
I'm talking like Nintendo 64 Mario. So,
so just the generation afterwards is not too bad.
Okay.
We do have like she knows. We do have some people in the chat with us tonight. We have Dude Nukem joining us today. I think he means hello everyone, but I'll take a hello everyone as well. We have Spencer from Bounding in the Comics, who's busy editing a whole bunch of stuff right now, who's joining us, celebrating our Tuesday night schedule. We also have Death by Gun Fu, who's joining us in the chat. Said, can't wait for the Black Pill stream tomorrow. It's like, well, maybe there'll be something on there that we'll be talking about right now.
I'm shocked he's excited.
Yeah, I know, right? So we'll talk about that one a little bit later on, I guess. But I say we started hot. Let's go in with who's watched the first episode of She-Hulk. Did anyone get into seeing any kind of clips of this television show that came out fairly recently?
Seen the
Nope.
clips, and that was enough to make me stay far away.
Yeah, so it was very great. Like, when I came back from Vegas last week, and that was another thing I forgot to mention. I was in Las Vegas last weekend, so that's why there wasn't any shows. But the first thing I do the second I came back from Vegas was review She-Hulk, and all it made me want to do was just lie in a corner and die after watching one of the most abysmal televisions that I've seen in quite some time. This was a show that was very, very hard to get through. I'm not gonna lie. This one was pretty bad. And just some of the notes on this series that I showed. There was a clip going on that went viral over the weekend about She-Hulk, I guess the character of Jennifer Walters, sitting there and lecturing to Bruce Banner that she knows how to manage her anger better than he does, even though he's been dealing with this issue for at least 15 years as far as the MCU goes. And the comic book character itself has a very, very checkered past with a lot of hard upbringings, and it just goes to show you just and this is episode 1, by the way. This is the introduction to the character. So if you know absolutely nothing about her, this is how they introduced this character to the world. They think that, oh, we're totally going to embrace this bitchy, entitled career woman who has no adversity in her life whatsoever up to this point. So the episode came out. It wasn't good. The first thing that I noticed about the show was that the CGI, even though it was cleaned up at certain aspects, it was still pretty bad. There was also some issues and then the writing, the whole character presentation, and they really seem to be going all in on this anti-male narrative with this television show, simply because it's a female character written by a female writer. So if you don't notice, the person who wrote this show was a writer named Jennifer Gao, who is famous for writing the Pickle Rick episode of Rick and Morty. So if you're a big Rick and Morty fan, this is the person who they basically awarded to write this show.
That's the only episode of Rick and Morty I've seen is the Pickle Rick episode. So it's very funny. And just like, okay. So I literally know this person's work, but I didn't see this episode of She-Hulk. I wanted to watch it just to critique it because I heard how bad it was. And I haven't watched one Disney Plus show.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't even know how many Disney Plus shows they've been at this point. I only watched
dozen.
WandaVision because it was the first one, and I haven't gone and watched a single second of any other ones that have come out since then. So I don't even know how many there's been. I haven't watched any of them in the last couple of years, but keep in mind. So the whole show starts is that She-Hulk and Mark Ruffalo's Hulk are driving down the road. They end up running into an alien ship for some reason. They fly off the road. She gets injured, and then I guess his blood ends up getting into her blood, which is how she becomes She-Hulk. So the rest of the episode is literally him trying to, I guess, guide his cousin into what to expect with being the Hulk. But of course, she's already better at everything right off the gate. And then any kind of like life lessons that he's trying to teach her, she just kind of take it as a guy who I guess is being condescending and projecting these certain images onto her, which is actual like words and dialogue they use in this series, by the way. That's not like me projecting anything. There's this one scene where I think right after the crash, she's at like some kind of like weird like what is it, like dive bar type location, and like she goes into a bathroom looking like she just got beat up pretty badly, and all of a sudden like these women just come out of nowhere, and they like I said, she looks like she just got the hell beat out of her. So they decide to put makeup on her for some reason, because that's exactly what you do with a woman who looks troubled. You just put makeup on her and throw her back outside looking like a woman of the night. And then right after that, like 3 guys come out of the bar and like try to talk to her. Keep in mind, just try to talk to her. Like, didn't put her hands on her or anything like that. And of course, just men talking to her outside made her so mad that she had to Hulk up. And then Bruce had to come in and save her at the end of the day, which led to the whole speech about I can control my anger better than you can and things of that nature. So I'm not sure if any of you guys have saw this, but just want to talk about the clips that you've seen yourself. What is your early impressions on Disney Plus She-Hulk? Because I saw the first episode. All I can say is I hope that the next 3 are better than this, because I talked to Chris Gore while I was in Vegas, and he claims that the first 4 episodes is the ones that he's seen. It actually does get better, but this is not a good start whatsoever. What do you guys think of She-Hulk?
How many episodes in the show will there be?
I believe the episode count is 9, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
So
my
9
gosh.
30-minute episodes.
And you're saying, like, judging from what you've seen of the show, the
Yeah,
character
that's
seems
the
to
thing.
already know everything thus far. Like there's nothing, no challenge for her character.
Right. When you were like when this is being described with like no challenges and she's,
No character
already already capable or as capable as Bruce is, it's sort of like taking those ridiculous Arnold Schwarzenegger action movies from the 80s, but taking any interesting action, craft to it, and well-structured action scenes. There's none of that, and it's this ridiculous female profile of basically being a man, basically saying, I don't need no man. I'm already where I need to be successful in life, and it's only because of men that I'm not more successful. They're in my way from girl bossing my way to the top, so it's just like, and of course they have to, the dudes have to be catcalling to justify her ridiculous anger at them. You know what I mean? Like the behavior has to reach some level where it's like, oh, she was justified for over blowing her top, basically. So it's just there's nothing interesting. There's no sense of conflict for this character. What are they overcoming? They're just talking down to the Incredible Hulk.
I was watching that clip where she's just like, oh, I've controlled my anger for so long, and having dealt with men catcalling me and all sorts of shit. And she's saying that Bruce has never been through any true hardship. And it's just like, bitch, Bruce Banner literally tried to kill himself. Yeah. Literally stuck a gun in his mouth and pulled the trigger. Like, he literally explains that dude has been in hiding in some third world country for years to hide out because of his situation. Like, I'm pretty sure your fucking catcalling doesn't even come close to the majority of shit Bruce has been through as dealing with his situation of being the Hulk.
Didn't his own government try to kill him? Like, isn't that the big thing about like Bruce Banner's like he's trying to figure this thing out while he's on the run from his own government. He has no, doesn't have a whole lot of support and all that stuff. So.
It's like these creators, their own memory is so short. They've turned Bruce Banner into a fucking cuck with glasses. What a loser situation for Hulk to be as a character. Everything even remotely interesting about the Hulk is through his trials and tribulations. And that has not been a thing for years now. So what the fuck is the point? And it's just like the only point is to pass it on to She-Hulk instead. It's like you could do that, but she's still a knockoff of the Hulk. Whether you want, she's still tokenized Hulk.
So I want to address one thing before I let Johnson go. Is that Spencer was mentioning this, that the scene I was talking about in the bar is that the men were catcalling her. Here's what I say. Like, obviously the framing of the scene is supposed to be that, they're catcalling her, right? And they're harassing her and whatnot. But even with the way that the scene was portrayed, because it would happen like so quickly, it wasn't even like it was like an aggressive or like, like you see like those videos out of like New York City where you see like these like construction workers say very, very derogatory things like towards women that you obviously say that I wouldn't like support someone saying that to whatever, my daughter or something. Toots. Yeah, but like I said, like we've seen like catcalling done like far, far worse. And this one, it's like the guys are early coming out of a bar. They see a woman standing outside the bar. And keep in mind, looks like a woman of the night because the girls just framed her up like that to begin with. So you got these guys who come out of the bar. They're like, "Hey, baby, how you doing?" It's like, "Are you all right?" And she's like, "No, I think my boyfriend's here." It's like, "Hey, come on, we're just trying to be friendly with you." Like that's literally the dialogue of like what they say, and then that's what like drives her like over the edge. And keep in mind that scene happened like 7 minutes into the show, and then later on in the same episode, she's trying to explain to Bruce Banner that she can control her anger because she's used to stuff like that. But it's like you've already shown that you're not used to it because you almost hoped out on those guys that were talking to you in the bar to begin with. So it's like you kind of undercut your own point you were trying to sell later on in the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it was supposed to be portrayed as them coddling her. That's what I agree with.
well, I mean, I totally agree with that, and that's why, like, okay, so like my controversial take on this is that this still actually could be good.
Mhm.
So I have like a love affair with books about unlikable protagonists, and if you
Yeah.
read my books, you will pick up on that fairly quickly, depending on the book that you're reading.
Yeah.
But like the whole point of I agree with Cassie. I do agree that she is kind of like a tokenized toke at this point. I do think that there's a lot more maybe like over enthusiastic woman replacing man, even though like we can't define what a woman is anymore type stuff going on. And this is kind of what, if I was going to write this, meaning that it would be good, right? She would have more of a villain arc. I mean, like, I think that's a great idea, frankly. I mean, she's a lawyer. Nobody likes lawyers. So
Yeah.
William Shakespeare's like famous quote of like, in a perfect world, we'd first kill all the lawyers. I think that's brilliant. It's like, let's do from that. Okay. Yes. Let's humanize her. Let's like talk about the difference between like a public servant versus a hero. Those are good themes. Like, and then like, of course, with her power, she has all this paranoia. She has all this, you know, microaggression biases
Yes.
and inherent toxic like empowerment issues because she's so used to being a specific way.
Mhm.
Now, the reason I don't like this show is because it does go out of its way to like degrade the men specifically. Like I saw that clip where like she's talking to like she's given her presentation in front of the girl and the guy, and the girl's like, "Oh, that was perfect," and the guy's like, "It's kind of wordy, you know, or something like that, you know," and so the other girl's like, "Get out of here. We don't need your negativity." It's like there's a difference between criticism and negativity, and it's there is like a fine line, but if you're colleagues, you know, like that is something that you kind of have to consider, you know, and like I said, I think you can still get a good show out of this if you kind of reveal that she's like actually this terrible person who's not a hero and who's not a good person, and this over insufferable arrogant person being brought to her knees and having some amount of humility to say, "You know what, Bruce, you were right. I was terribly ignorant and wrong. And, you know, I didn't think about your feelings, and I was only thinking about myself." And yeah, that is pretty much the answer to
Yeah. And I
that.
totally get what you're saying. The problem is that do
Yeah.
these type of writers have the self-awareness to even write a character like that? Because ideally, when you have a character, like you can present a character who's like completely arrogant and up in the clouds about
Yeah.
you know their ego and things of that nature, but you also have to build a world where their own reality like brings them back down to Earth, essentially, right? Where
Yeah,
we can
because
start to realize
like
that
these
they're not as
writers though,
yeah.
they think that what she's doing is completely fine. Like she
Yeah.
should be lashing out this way given her situation. Like they feel as
Yeah.
though she's entitled to do that because of how mentally
Well,
deranged some of these people are.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm saying it could be good. I'm not saying it necessarily will be.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I-
you're looking
I'm
for best case scenario, obviously, which is
well, I mean, like I don't like that Hollywood's full of hack writers that are just basically wine moms. You know, it's like I am, you know, when people's like I am a woman and I'm pro woman, but I'm not pro bad, pro toxic woman. And I think that's like a good nuanced take on it, you know?
Yeah.
So, but I don't want you to succeed just because you're a woman. I want you to be a good woman. So,
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
like,
but
like-
it's. I just wanted to say real quick. It's like if you're gonna go evil, go femme fatale, go like seriously push the envelope. But that's not what they're doing here. They're trying to say
No.
she's justified in acting this way because patriarchy does this to women. You know what I? You know, and
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
I understand the whole concept of lawyers and hating them. I actually might become a lawyer someday because I love to argue. And I, you know, and you're
Love
right.
to get money
this,
from people. You're right.
right. And but it could go somewhere where it could be like, oh, I was wrong. I've actually learned something. I've grown as a person. But I doubt that they're gonna go in that way, you know, because
Okay, I will say
narcissistic, you know.
Yeah, part of the reason that I am more sympathetic in this case too is that my best-selling series is Starlight Chronicles, and this is the exact character arc that I use. And it's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a boy, but it's still like, you know, he's a little arrogant douchebag, and oh my gosh, something like hits him, like hits his, like just literally hits the city, can't fix it all. It's everything about his
But
self-image is like torn down.
and, and
Very
the
well
problem
received
that
series. So
the problem that we're saying is like these writers have to understand that the characters that they're portraying, at least early on, are not going to be likable characters, and I don't think they have the, like, I guess you'd say, either whether it's the creativity or just the ability as a writer to notice like, hey, this character is going to be unlikable starting on, but then we're going to build something better down the line. A lot of these people just present these characters, think like, oh no, this character is totally relatable and to me, because it's basically just me pouring my own thoughts into this character. This is why when you watch this show, She-Hulk doesn't doesn't really portray what she is in the comic books. It betrays the mind of the late 30s Rick and Morty writer that's writing this show. Like that's essentially what's going on. They can't separate themselves and their own personal views from the characters that they're writing.
Yeah,
and that's why they miss the mark with this so many times.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with drawing from personal experience or anything, because like I was pretty narcissistic as a teenager, and I've learned a lot since then. So I like to think that I'm a better person now than I was back then. None of my high school friends.
Imagine being almost 40 and still not learning these lessons.
Yeah. I think a lot. So first of all, I really hate the likable protagonist. Like you have to feel sorry for like so many stories.
No, did we lose you there?
Tony was unapologetically brilliant. He had his quirks. He was very distinctive as a character. And like I don't think you need a likable protagonist. Like if you think about like Joker from Joker, you know, like he's framed in a way that you feel sorry for him, even though he's not really a hero. And you feel the same way about like Rey from Star Wars. Is like these are good people who are thrust into these situations and they handle it well. Considered. I don't like that because it's so overdone. So
exactly. Or if you're going to present a quote unquote likable character, give us a reason why we should like this person. And the reason it has to be more than just the fact that she's a woman. There has to be actual character traits that the audiences can relate with that makes these people likable. I think they missed that part of it as well.
Yeah. I will say, like, I think you should have some justification for making the character a woman, though, like when it comes down to it. Because like Captain Marvel, if you made Brie Larson a man in that movie, it wouldn't change like at all. But like Wonder Woman would drastically change if you changed her gender, and I think that
don't give him any ideas. You know they're just waiting to put someone from like RuPaul's Drag Race into the role of Wonder Woman one of these days. Like don't give him any ideas.
Oh, they've already done it. I mean, like I feel bad for even like bringing this up, but like you remember Elektra, the movie? Like they had a very obvious like girl on girl kiss during the movie, and I'm like, I can't watch this with my kids. You know, it's my kids are young. And it's like so, but I mean, of course that was like 20 years ago now, maybe. So
yeah, it's been a minute.
I do, or just real quick, I do want to point out the fact that this writer,
the litany.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to put out real quick that this writer, Jennifer Gao, Jessica Gao. Jessica Gao is the name of the writer. A couple years ago, she got into it with Scarlett Johansson, because remember when Scarlett Johansson was up for the role for the Ghost in the Shell movie, and people in the Asian community, quote unquote, were complaining that she shouldn't have gotten the role. She should have went to like an actual like Asian woman, so they were all angry at her. And it
wasn't even the Asian community.
Exactly. That's why I said quote unquote, because it's usually just Hollywood leftists that they're all say that. But so like Johansson went out and basically said that she should be allowed to play any person that she is, because that's what acting is, right? And the writer of this series not only went after her, but went after her husband for defending her and said that they both suck. And then somehow, like a year later, she's somehow in the pitching room with Kevin Feige, and she's pitching an idea for a Black Widow film before they actually went forward with it. And her idea was that Black Widow was going to go to a 20-year high school reunion after assassinating someone's dad 20 years earlier because she's a Russian spy, and now she has to like go to her high school reunion and deal with the consequences of killing some guy 20 years ago. And that was the pitch that they had for the original Black Widow movie. And because that pitch somehow had She-Hulk involved in it somehow, that's how we got this TV series. So that's how this series came to be. I just want to throw that out there.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah,
but
so if you want to know how this stuff gets greenlit, then there you go. I just told you.
it's crazy. And like I'm not much of a writer by any means because I don't really practice. But I've came up with character concepts or pitched character concepts where I specifically have like if they're a good character, like specific flaws to that character, because that's what gives them like relatable aspects. Like just having a character that's perfect and that doesn't have anything to strive for to be better at. What is the point? Like you just have a fucking tabula rasa, if anything, like just a character that was born yesterday, just knowing everything,
Right.
or just more so knowing nothing and just magically doing it. Like it's just weird to me. Like, how do you actually think that is gonna fly or that's gonna relate to anyone? It's just at that point, the only thing relatable about She-Hulk is the fact that she's a barking feminist. Like that's all it is. And it's like, and even if you have characters that aren't likable, like for example, Iron Man, you could argue Iron Man wasn't very likable. He was kind of an arrogant prick, but what kind of made him likable was the fact that he was funny. Like you have to have something to get your character over, and unfortunately, a lot of women just aren't funny. I don't think that this person that plays She-Hulk can be funny. She doesn't really. I mean, she's kind of goofy looking, if I'm completely honest. But other than that.
But that ego that Tony Stark has is what creates conflict, and that's what makes or at least early on in those movies. That's why I want to watch him in that role. He's fun and sarcastic and kind of a smartass, and he has a good heart ultimately. But it's like it's like that's that friction and conflict. That's why we care about these characters, and that's why we want to see them.
Yeah,
I love when Iron Man was a prick. He got boring when he started being nice.
But keep in mind, Iron Man, when in the first movie, he was presented as an arrogant asshole. Like that's how his character was. It wasn't until he was in a situation where he saw firsthand what the weapons that he was creating with his company was actually doing to like certain companies. Like he was so completely disconnected to the world that he was involved with, and when he finally saw the repercussions of what he was doing, that made him have a complete change of heart. What he was doing, he was going to shut down the company altogether because he didn't want to be a part of it anymore. And that's the type of character growth that you need with characters like that. They need to have that moment of clarity. It's like, wow, I really am the bad guy here. What can I do to fix this?
Right.
Yeah, it's like people, everyone has flaws. Like everyone has their things that make them imperfect human beings. And a big goal in life is to try and iron those out. But also, like, when push comes to shove, when it matters most, like, you'd hope that you would aspire to do the right thing. And I think that's a big part of Tony Stark's character in the original Iron Man.
Yeah. Like, yeah, by comps, like, what does She-Hulk have? Like I said, like, her paranoia, her toxic femininity is a great place to start because it does kind of create conflict with her and Bruce Banner. And he's just trying to teach her. And I mean, like, I know people have complained that Bruce Banner's gotten kind of like shoved back into the background of it, but I actually like this role for him because, like, he's not like, I don't know, he's not just kind of this bland green man, giant green man. I mean, he's actually doing something purposeful within the narrative, which is teaching and passing on what he's learned, even if he has like the worst student. Like teach and so I don't
get where you're coming from.
There's good elements, but there's just such poor execution and clear bias and clear amounts of ignorance that it is not going to be a good show unless they turn it around quick. So
So yeah, so just to wrap up this topic, I am gonna watch episode 2. I hope there's some actual progression in episode 2, but I feel like we're just gonna get like more of the same, except for it's gonna be her job. And it's just gonna be the misogyny that she deals with there, which is gonna be a continuation of the second one, which is like, okay, you only got 9 episodes of this. Hopefully, we start turning this around here pretty soon. But no, it's like it's gonna be a pretty rough one. I do want to invite our next guest who's here, who's joining us not on a Monday night, but he's here on a Tuesday night with us. Mr. Rick, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing much better. Hope I don't cough as much.
Yeah, hopefully you'll find out where the mute button is just for the cough. But usually I would go after you right now, but in case you haven't realized, I'm having a tough go of it myself here. But I mean, hey, look, I'm looking at this this picture from the Kansas City Royals, who's literally puking, like not even joking. He's literally puking his guts out right now. Sick as a dog. He just got pulled. He can't pitch anymore. But he pitched fucking 4 shutout innings of absolutely just sick, puking my gut out on the middle of the mound. And it's like, if he can pitch 4 innings, then I can do a 2-hour podcast. So we're gonna make it happen here tonight. So
yeah, well, I've learned. I got the mute. I have my cursor right above the mute. So
all right, man. Well, let's move on to our next topic. You just missed the MCU, but there is another Marvel story coming up here. But let's jump over to DC, and that is Ezra Miller, our boy, is apparently going with option number 1. So, yeah, Ezra Miller, they're going to try to rehab this guy, just in case you guys didn't know. They're trying to rehab his image. So he recently came out and blamed a lot of his controversies on complex mental health issues, and he's begun ongoing treatment. So if you don't know exactly what option 1 is that DC obviously has this $300 million Flash movie that they're just sitting on right now, but because their star is such a public mess, they really don't have any options really to go with this film. Your only real options are to rehab his image and then put him out there in hopes people will go watch this movie. Option 2 was just release the movie and don't have him be a part of the marketing whatsoever, which wasn't going to work because then you're just ignoring the elephant in the room. And option 3 was, well, let's just scrap the movie and just eat $300 million. But because Warner Brothers, in case you haven't realized, is losing so much money right now, I think they lost another couple of billion just on their stock prices today alone. They don't really want to lose any more money, so they're going to try to rehab Ezra Miller as much as they possibly can, which means that he's going to go to rehab like most quote-unquote celebrities do whenever they start screwing up. I'm pretty sure he'll be on Good Morning America sometime in the next few months, and they'll throw some softball questions that are edited to make it seem like that, everything's all good here, guys. And yeah, so this is what they're planning on doing with him. I don't know if you guys have heard all the stories about him, but there's the assaults that happened in Iceland, the assaults in Hawaii, the fact that he's been running a drug farm somewhere in, was like Delaware or one of those, Vermont, one of those countries. He has like a woman and their 3 kids, which I'm not even sure if they're still missing or not. There's a lot of things going on with Ezra Miller right now. So what do you guys think of Warner Brothers just kind of hoping that everyone just forgets everything that they've read over the last few months? I'll start with Rob, since he's obviously well versed on Ezra Miller's story up to this point.
Well, I guess I'm still carrying water for Warner Brothers or something, because I'm like, I respect them up on through a historical lens, but they really fucked this up. I mean, maybe they just invested too much money and they think that they can maybe still sell this to the public by having this guy go around and do mea culpas on Good Morning America. But I just can't see how anybody's going to go see this movie, how they're going to make any money on it. And they should just trash it, because at this point, it's just like, I don't know what you do to make it feasible financially, because I think this is just a dumpster fire waiting to happen. And we're just they're hoping it doesn't, but I think it's going to crash and burn.
You're muted.
I thought I was back on. Rick, I wanted to ask you real quick. Have you been following anything going on with Ezra Miller? And what's kind of your thoughts about this whole disaster revolving this this Flash movie that's supposed to come out next year?
I just know bits and pieces, mostly really from what I see and hear from you guys, since it seems to be that every week there's always an Ezra Miller story popping up. Mm-hmm. I think it's too bad we can't get Christopher Plummer to substitute for him at this point.
Yeah, or
this-
literally anyone else.
Yes, is he that integral to the DC extended universe that they have to move all of heaven and earth to save him and save this movie? Uh, for the option one, it's probably the I don't know if it's the best. It's probably the best option that they had. I mean, they could have just ignored him, and I think that isn't that. Well, actually, no. Now that I think about it, that was the same problem that West Side Story had with Ansel Elgort. He had accusations, and he didn't do much press, and so I think they probably just should have let him wither on the vine, because the man is pretty much just letting himself go. You
Yeah.
can't keep doing all the things that you're doing, or I mean, all the things that he has been doing, and really expect him to be the face. He's going to be the face. I mean, think about it. They're probably going to be action rides with his face on it over at, what is it, Six Park is affiliated with the DC extended universe. They're pretty much stuck with him, and they're determined to hold on to him. So they're going to try this. It was mental health issues, and they might be. I don't know. I can't read into his heart or into his mind, but I think everyone else would have just pretty much said, you know what, you're not worth it. You're not worth saving. But I guess this is what real white privilege looks like.
Yeah, or they them privilege. You know, you have to keep that in. Yeah.
I thought
Hollywood
Ezra
elite
Miller was
privilege.
Jewish.
So what'd you say?
Isn't he Jewish? I mean, I know that's the white.
I honestly don't know, but it also wouldn't surprise me if he was.
There's a lot of that in Hollywood. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, that's all you're allowed to say.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cassie, what do you think?
There is no way that any situation that they go with, it's not going to make the film that they're planning to put out a huge success. I might have said it on this podcast, but they already know that this movie's an L, but they need this in hopes of future movies bringing them profit. That's at this point what they're banking on. But there is nothing you can do that's going to help this situation. Ezra Miller got caught with kids, bro, like 12-year-old girls. Like there's nothing you could do, nothing you could say to get me to pay to watch this movie. I wouldn't even watch it because I don't want to see his face. I want to punch this little prick right in his fucking nose just looking at him.
Well, keep in mind he has a bulletproof vest. He may be ready for that. So,
well, I can't wear it on his fucking nose.
Johnson, what do you think about this whole story just from the outside looking in? And to answer your question from earlier, yes, he is.
Okay. I mean, I don't think it has a lot to do with anything. I just, it's like, okay.
Well, he certainly isn't religious by any means.
Yeah.
Not God-fearing to be caught with a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
No. Not that religion anyway. But but anyway, I have I am still kind of like Ezra Miller as a person is disgusting, and his behavior is disgusting.
Yeah.
And it's almost, it reminds me of like almost like a decade ago about Charlie Sheen. So since I'm fresh off the Josie and the Pussycats rewatch, it's like Ezra Miller is the new Charlie Sheen. And I like to believe that you can have a comeback or two. But I do think too, like Hollywood definitely has a problem with Harvey Weinstein's and Roman Polanski's, and it's like, if you're gonna try to reform the image, you might want to like leave Hollywood altogether. And go to prison and do your time, and take it honorably. So
I mean,
as far as the movie goes, honestly, they should like take his salary and like donate it to charity, and then they should they should just like let the movie out like on like for free. So They should not. I will watch it if they do that. So
Yeah. And then we also have to assume that somehow between now and next June that he's going to stay completely out of trouble. There won't be any more updates to the story or any more things that come out between now and then before this film comes out. That's not going to make us question his character. I'm sorry, they character and anything in that regard. Yeah, they. I mean, we don't know at this point. Like you try to read one of these articles, you're going to have a stroke. That's just the way that it is. But I mean, yeah. Look.
well, okay.
Oh,
I was an English teacher, okay, and
Mhm.
I used to be called a grammar Nazi, and today these are grammar commies. So
Yeah.
it's just you tell me it's the same result, the different intent, and it's like, okay.
As I've said before, the only person who has earned the right to refer to himself in the third person is The Rock. That he's the only one who gets a pass. I mean, if you're not The Rock, I'm not going to refer to you as a they or a them. That's just a step too far. But I mean, look, this guy, who knows what's going to happen with him? Warner Brothers is already trying to put out a mountain of fires that keep spreading right now. Blame the old guard for putting this much faith in Ezra Miller in the first place, because this dude was been a problem for years. They've known he's been a problem for years, and they just waited till we get to a point where they can no longer be contained. So AT&T was like, "Here, yeah, let's go sell this to Discovery and get the hell out, and then they can put out this mess before we all cash in." So I don't know what's going to happen here. You know, by next week there'll be something else that comes out about this guy. That's just the way this story goes out.
Well, and I genuinely hope that he recovers, and I hope he's able to repent and find peace and make peace with these people that he like the people's lives that he's ruined. Like
Mhm.
I want a good outcome. Okay. The fact that
Yeah.
it's unlikely doesn't stop me from wishing it. But,
Yeah.
I'm also very realistic and I agree with that. It's just like, yes, get him into rehab. At least you won't have any stories for a while.
Well, at least
Well,
we hope.
well, call me cynical, but this whole thing just feels like the last gasp before the final like fall of just being like, yeah, we're scrapping it. Fuck this. Because I mean, they're trying to save their financial investment, and I mean, I think there's supposed to be additional movies with Ezra Miller. So
Yeah.
I guess if they're successful, that means he's going to be coming back. So all I can say is don't go see this movie. Don't go see it. Ensure
Just keep in mind, with the money that they've put into this, just on production alone, not even counting marketing, because there hasn't been any marketing yet, but even if they do advance to doing any marketing for this film, you're looking at a film that probably has to do about $750 million worldwide just to break even. And good luck trying to get that much money out of people with the way Ezra Miller is acting right now.
Now, is this a Flash-centered movie?
Yes.
Oh, God.
So he's playing 3 different variations of the Flash in this film.
Is this the Michael Keaton, what is it, Flashpoint movie that's supposed to? Okay.
See, if it is really like the Flashpoint movie, though, like I said, this is an excellent opportunity for them to just kill him off. Beat him in. Let
You're
us
really
enjoy.
going all in on this, just murder on screen, of course.
Well, to me, it makes so much. It's very efficient. Okay, you kill him off. In Flashpoint in the animated movie, like Mara dies too. Like Wonder Woman kills her. So it's like you could have a twofer here. So easy. Cross them both out. Done.
Well, if he does die in the future movie, you need to have a reaction put up on YouTube for everyone to see.
It'll just be me standing up and clapping, saying "Good job."
Well, no,
I was thinking like more of like hands in the air, like Mojo Jojo laughing maniacally.
No, you'll do theater reactions, and you'll see everybody like praising it, like they did when they saw Endgame. Like this goes cut to the.
Everyone just does a Gronk and just like spikes a football in the middle of the theater.
Yeah.
Everyone does the wave.
Well, I mean, like it's like I said, it's just the easiest way. Like it's just such an easy way to send off his character. Because I actually like the Flash in the animated sense. Like I loved the Flashpoint movie, and I love like the animated Batman and Robin and this Justice League animated series. So I like those. I grew up on those. I'm okay with. I mean, like. I'm okay with seeing a movie about the Flash. I prefer it didn't have Ezra Miller in it, because when he's done. But I'm saying if you have to keep him in, and if you are going to risk so much on him, and he's already proven himself to be less than reliable. Just kill off the character. Give him
Yeah.
a good, meaningful death. Have him go back and save Superman from whatchamacallit, the thingy that kills him at the end of Batman v Superman. You know, I mean, just do
Yeah.
it. You can erase so much, and then you can pick up on the continuity right there. And also, like I said, you can kill Amber Heard's character. Just wipe out
You
so
could-
much.
You could go all Dallas and just say it was all a dream. Just get rid-
Well,
Patrick
well,
Duffy.
see, like
Yes.
this is one thing that Marvel sucks at, is keeping their characters dead. You know, this would be a great anti-Marvel movie. Okay, I mean, like, somebody get me David, whatever his last name is, like, phone number, and let me rant at him for a while at this. It's like,
They already made Watchmen, okay? They made it in 2009. Like, what was that? The year after Iron Man came out? So
Yeah.
well,
that was the
but even in Watchmen though, like you still had Rorschach dying, so
Right.
this is like a good, like, you can make this work. You can make it good too by killing off somebody, like a heroic sacrifice. I mean, hero's journey where the hero lives in the end, and it's like,
But
let's
that
kill
would
him. Let's kill him this time.
Yeah, that would require good writers and good producers who are willing to risk getting rid of a I'm imagining major character to end this, but I don't know if they will actually pull the trigger, so to speak,
Mhm.
and want to get rid of the Flash as a character. Now,
Well, there's like 3 of them in this though. Like, just get different actors and do the Tobey Maguire Homecoming thing. Done.
No, don't do that.
no.
Well, you know what?
Don't do
Or
what
the
Marvel
TV
does,
Flash.
okay? In any
There's
capacity.
already a push to get the TV Flash to pop in here. I'm assuming, I don't know if he is or not, but there's always that option.
Does anybody, whenever people suggest that, I just cringe so hard, because it's like, do you understand that this is a movie? And I don't mean to sound pretentious, but it's like, you're talking about a television actor playing a main character protagonist in a comic book, cinematic universe. What are you smoking? Like, I mean, seriously though, business wise, it's like, you people have your head up your ass if you think a TV actor can carry, and whatever, it's a comic book movie, but still, like,
I don't value any of these fucking actors. To me, they're one and the same in the shitter. Like, now, if this was 30, 40 years ago, I'd completely agree. But these people in Hollywood, they could barely act their way out of a fucking bag.
To one little quick counter on Rob's point is that, normally you would not do that, but when your option A is Ezra Miller, I wouldn't mind putting a CW level actor to replace him at that point, because I mean, you're already at 0, so it can't get any worse than that. But
no, but then the problem with that is, if they do cast the TV Flash, what would end up happening is the fans or the fanboys would start saying, "Oh, so that means that everything that happened on the TV show is related to what's happening in the movie." And they would want that kind of oddball continuity rather than just separate the two. So you would have that problem.
Yeah.
But like, in the animated series, they still had like the different multiverses and stuff. That was, and the different timelines. That's part of it too.
Well, we're all gonna move on here from one superhero to another. Now let's talk about Spider-Man. Now, I know you guys, we mentioned this last night on the podcast, that apparently they're bringing back Spider-Man, the one with Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, with 11 extra minutes of footage. So go watch the movie again for that 11 extra minutes of borderline filler that was cut out of the movie in the first place. But this isn't about the movie now. Now we're talking about the video game, because apparently there was a lot of controversy a couple weeks ago, because somebody made a mod on the Spider-Man Remastered video game where they replaced all the LGBTQ pride flags with American flags, and this got people so upset that they banned the mods from the platform. So Nexus Mods, I guess, is the home of these type of
where you get some mods from. It's basically a website that does all that shit. I use it.
So
haven't been touching it lately though.
So essentially, it is what I said. Some guy made a mod where he took all the pride flags that were in the video game and replaced them with American flags. That's all he did. And by doing that, it was enough to get him completely nuked from the platform. So this obviously was a big point of contention. A lot of people said that this was an act of hate speech. Some people call this an act of violence by removing the pride flags out of this game. One of the arguments that I heard, which was just hilarious, is like, well, can you give me a non-homophobic reason why you would do something like this? And then one guy just said, I'm not gay. And then that was the entire response. But Nexus mods are siding with the ban, and they went as far to tell people that if you have a problem with the ban, delete your account and move on. So Nexus is saying, no, we're totally going to uphold the ban on the user Mike Hawk, which obviously we all know what Mike Hawk is really referring to. But yeah, the guy who went in and it made the mod that was being called a wave of outrage against homophobic content 24 hours afterward, responding to the complaints by banning the mod, the user, and all their alternate accounts, and telling anyone who doesn't like it that, yeah, you guys can just go find another site to use it. You're no longer welcome if you support the actions of what this guy did. So don't go in there and delete our propaganda with your propaganda, because that's bad. So I know Cassie's the video game guru here, so I'm going to let you take this one off. What is your thoughts on the Spider-Man mods and the flags and all this foolishness that just came out of one guy saying, yeah, let's just take this out and put some other stuff in?
For me, I this generation, I started pretty much primarily as a PC gamer. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I converted to being a PC gamer as opposed to consoles, PlayStation, or Xbox is specifically for the freedom of PC. Like, you can go as far as your own knowledge takes you on PC as a gamer. And so that's why I really do want it. I don't want to be told what to do. I don't want to be forced into one storefront. Like, the whole goal, the whole thing with mods is for the user themselves to mod a game to appeal to their personal taste. That's what makes mods so great. We can actually code the game to do things that we think are awesome or appeal to us in some sort of way. And this person created a mod, and to be fair, it's actually him using the coding in the game that was already introduced by Insomniac for localization reasons. So like, when this Spider-Man game is put out in Saudi Arabia, for example, they don't have gay pride flags in the game. It is they replace it with the US, the American flag, because localization reasons, certain rules in different countries. So it's like Insomniac already did this, just not in in these whiny fucking losers country. And to me personally, if you want to mod for all of the gay pride flags to be American flags, because that appeals more to you, it's more relatable to you, you'd rather see that as opposed to a flag that you don't really, that has no significance to you personally, should be able to do that. And I also pose the other side of it. If you're gay and you want to have the gay pride flag everywhere, then I'm all for mods that do that. If you want to put the fucking gay pride flag on all the buildings, all the streets, on people's fucking cars, you want everything to be just a barfing rainbow in the entire game, I support that too. The whole goal with mods is to do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like, that's what makes PC gaming great. And the fact that we are now policing mods goes to show how far insane the entire censorship has gotten. Like, this shit needs to fucking stop. And people that support this are honestly just authoritarian fucking losers at this point. And I just, at this point, it's just mocking and shaming. You are an authoritarian loser, and I do not stand with any fucking thing in regards to this kind of censorship. It's a video game. Let people have fun playing the video games the way that they want to play them.
Now, I know you guys aren't, the gamers of this channel, but what is your general thoughts on Nexus mods going after one of their, I guess, users for removing LGBTQ flags from the video game?
All right. Well, as someone whose last video game was probably Donkey Kong, and who actually
No, hold on.
has.
You have to clarify which platform you're talking about.
OG?
We talking about like
Arcade.
Atari, or are we
I'm
talking
talking
about
about
like
an actual arcade.
Arcade. Yep. That goes back to the mid '80s. Holy
Yeah.
crap. Sorry.
I and who has never heard the expression mod or in relating to video games until now.
Mhm.
I swear I don't understand. I mean, you might as well just lapse into Yiddish. But here's my question: what if someone had mod or done this and done the reverse? There were American flags and they replaced them with pride flags. Would they be banned? Would they be condemned? No. My thinking is yes, that is. No, my thinking is that they would probably be praised and applauded. What if they decided to replace the LGBTQ flag with the flag of North Korea, or with ISIS, or with the flag of the
Russia.
Vatican? Uh, I mean, they're upset because they're replacing the pride flag. But if you could modify the game to your liking, then you're free to modify the game to your liking. You're not forced to keep it a certain way. What if they decided that they wanted to modify the gay pride flag and make it like the Black Lives Matter flag? Would they get upset about that? I mean, that's it's just being very nitpicky, and I agree with Cassie. Just let them modify it, and it's not going to harm anyone. They're not calling out for violence or attacks upon gay, lesbian, bisexual people. So
Yeah, it's
all
not
they're doing is just
GTA.
yeah. Huh?
I said, yeah, it's not GTA.
Yeah. I mean, just let them change it, and live and let live. But that goes also to just replacing the flags of whatever flag. I mean, if I were able to modify, I would probably I might replace this flag with the flag of Italy or the flag of Mexico. And I don't think anyone would say, "Oh, that's terrible." I
Yeah,
mean,
and real quick, I'm pretty sure Spencer can confirm this in the chat too. But I believe there were mods that were made for that game that had like Black Lives Matter and like other murals and stuff like that around, and then the political realm that were also part of that game, which they haven't taken down. So it's not like Nexus Games has any kind of like stance against like political stances of any sort. Just that we don't like that you basically removed the pride flag from the video game, and that's why we're upset.
Well, and again, I haven't played video games in something, I don't know, 4 years. So I've taken a little bit of a break, and it's what is happening to movies. What's been going on in movies the last 10 or 15 years is what's going on with video games right now. Just with this oversensitivity to and it's like I thought the realm of video games was about creativity, was about fun, was about just basically you could if they allow you to be creative and create the world that you want to play in, why not? Why
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I first learned about mods actually when in the last version of Madden I played, which is like I think Madden 18 or something, and it allows you to actually put in like college teams, and like there are all these cool different things you could do that I couldn't do on the PS4. I couldn't do on the different gaming systems, and like I was like, that was the first time I thought, hey, like maybe I should look into going with PC, because you have all these different options with the games you already like and whatever. So yeah, I do not understand why they would police something as trivial as a flag in a game like this.
I do want to. Spencer said that the BLM mural was not a mod that was actually included
It
in the
is.
actual game code for Miles Morales expansion pack. So that's something that they put that was already packaged in the game. That wasn't something that was added after the fact, correct? Okay, so I think that clarifies a little things there. Johnson, like I said, obviously we've established you're not the gamer in the group. So just
No,
any
it's
thoughts about
okay.
this story?
One of the things that I don't particularly enjoy about extremists, and I'm saying this like across the board, is that there tends to be a very lack of grace involved. Like when I deal with people like, yeah, I know. When I deal with people on Twitter, like I mean, a lot of the progressive ideologues are just merciless and graceless to boot. So If there is that like additive for individualization, I think that's okay. And I mean, it's not actual violence, you know. So I don't like people talk about like whataboutism, kind of like what you were talking about.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that because it does like force you to consider the other side, but it also is like, is this something that's graceful? Is this something that we could approach with humility? This is some kind of learning thing, or you know, and it's usually the answer is no. So
So I wanted to, because we're on the topic of censorship here, so I wanted to jump off of video games and cover this story, because this was another story that I know a lot of you guys probably don't know who this is outside of Cassie, but you may have heard the name of Andrew Tate. Now, just kind of give a quick little rundown of what happened here. Apparently, this guy just got nuked off all his social media platforms over the course of the last week. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube all banned this guy due to hateful and dangerous ideology about women, right? So if you guys don't know who this is, like I said, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys don't. This is a guy who's been very, very popular on social media the last few months because he's a guy who goes on different YouTube shows and he talks about, you know, relationships. He talks about, you know, the good and bad things about men, the good and bad things about women, things of that nature. So he's also been very popular with more of like the younger crowd, especially young men, for like a lot of his views. So this is a guy who, let's just say right here, you're not going to agree with everything that he says. Let's just be straight up and blunt about it. Yeah, Spencer calls him the Romanian sex trafficker. Allegedly, well, we don't know for sure, but maybe there's some stuff going on there that we can talk about. So yeah, he got banned off of violating these companies' misogynist content. Now, this is what a lot of people were complaining about, is that if you look at his actual account, he wasn't actually like going on these accounts talking about, you know, women or men. Like his social media is usually just him, you know, with, you know, his lifestyle, like showing off his cars and his homes and things of that nature. That's the type of stuff that he typically posts on his profiles. But the reason why people took note of him is because a lot of his content from these podcasts were trending on these social media platforms about things that he was saying about men and women. I do have a short little part of what he says here. Keep in mind, all of these social media platforms terminated his channel and then went on to say that, you know, it's good that we got this dangerous guy off of this network. TikTok, which I find very surprising because it's a Chinese-owned app, removed him after he had amassed over 13.7 billion views on the platforms. That's how far his work was going on TikTok. But I just want to go specifically to what he says here. When he talked about the ban, he said, as a success coach, I talk about avoiding low value people. I often teach men to avoid friends who take drugs or only watch TV. I teach them how to find good male friends and role models. I will say avoid toxic people as a whole. This also means I say avoid toxic women as well as toxic men. Everybody ignores everything that I said by avoiding bad men and say that I only dislike women. And saying that by saying avoid bad women, it has nothing to do with a hatred for women. It's simply about good people and bad people. My mother is a hero, he stated. And then on a podcast that he did here, let me see right here. Make sure I got the right one. Okay, so this was some of the comments that he laid that a lot of people took note to, which is, I guess they're using to justify him getting banned. This is a podcast that he did called, I think it's called like Fresh and Fit, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Fresh and Fit podcast, where he says, you need to understand that the world you live in as a man, in my personal view, has been purposely constructed in a way to destroy masculine power and support networks. It's not a coincidence that the things that are on TV are on TV, he said. And he said, revolutions are nothing more than a group of men in one place, and revolutions have ever been as more. It says that's all revolutions have ever been. As they get more authoritarian and tyrannical, the last thing they want is a brave, strong man. Said nobody is concerned about male happiness on any level. They don't want you to be happy. They want you to be a miserable slave in a tax bracket. They want men who are afraid of their wives to be stuck at home, paying taxes with kids who don't respect them, and they can't get divorced or else they'll lose the home. They're turning men into slaves, and that's all you're good for, he asserted. So, like I said, this is a guy who's made a multitude of comments over the years. He's done plenty of podcasts. Like I said, you're not going to agree with everything that he says, but because of the reaction that we've seen from these social media platforms in just the last couple of days, they're all framing him as if this is his like absolute dangerous individual that we had to shut down because his views are spreading like wildfire, and we can't have more people out there that think like him. So, see, I know because of our mutual friend, I'm using that friend term very, very loosely. Let's put it that way.
Good,
That
shits your guts.
Yeah, exactly. We've heard a lot about Andrew Tate over the last few weeks. I'm not a big Andrew Tate fan. I think he's kind of annoying personally, but the route that they're going to censor this guy is just absolutely ridiculous. What do you think about what's going on with this guy?
So I personally never heard him speak. So everything that I know of this person, which isn't much, it's secondhand knowledge. But I was on basically. A lot of people seem to not understand that censorship in itself is an extremist, is a form of extremism.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, I have to often explain this to people because they don't quite get it. They don't understand that historically speaking, censorship leads to violence. When people feel as though their voice is not heard,
Yeah.
at some point, when you can't communicate and it's a complete disconnect, it leads to people then saying, well, words are not solving this issue. I'm going to take up violence because not being violent is not helping. Now, people argue that, oh, words are violence now. And it's just because we have authoritarian people that are honestly so fucked up. And it's just bad. Now, what did they do by banning this person? This is a person that it seems to me, like I said, a lot of secondhand knowledge here. Seems to me a lot of men that are sort of weak-minded had somebody to look up to, someone they think speaks for them, or someone that they want to be. They feel as though they have been disenfranchised from society. These are lost, mostly young men.
Yeah.
And you just nuked their poster boy essentially. And these are men that have already felt as though they haven't had avenues to be able to communicate, and you just got rid of the guy that seems to be expressing how they feel or how they want to be. You just created a social martyr by nuking this guy, and that's going to lead to radical ideology. There are going to be people, you may get rid of Andrew Tate, but guess what? You just created a dozen more of them. They will take up the leadership position, and you're just creating people that feel as though they're so disenfranchised, and that sooner or later the only answer to them is going to be violence. This is why censorship is extreme, and I completely oppose it.
You know, I actually had not heard, or I did. I've heard of this guy for the last couple of weeks because I think ROTC briefly brought him up. Like, we're not going to cover him. He's a troll. Blah 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 blah. And I actually, it's funny today. I actually listened to him because of the whole Dave Portnoy, Alex Stein dust up.
Yeah.
Apparently, Dave Portnoy had an interview with Andrew Tate, like something like a month ago, and I watched this podcast that they did together, and this sort of just kind of hashing out differences and points of view and whatever. I mean, I listened to him. It was like an hour-long podcast. He has this very weird accent because it's half like UK, half Americanized, and so it's like certain words slip in like an English accent. And he just sounds a little weird, but no, I mean, I don't know. It's like this character that went on like Dr. Phil years ago that just acts as a total chauvinist, kind of like, I'm a man and I'm better than you. And it's not that ridiculous with Andrew Tate, but it's also just like, it seems like a troll. It seems like MGTOW kind of material, which is okay. I am not for censorship on any level. And I think that ultimately it gives your critics more ammo. It's like, why are you censoring him when it's ultimately just a different point of view? you know, and you can call it misogynistic or whatever, but it's a different point of view. And it's just like censorship is never the answer. People ultimately just seek it out other places.
Yep.
I really haven't heard
I
enough
agree.
about Mr. Tate. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Margaret.
it's okay. I was gonna say I agree. It drives it underground. I'd rather somebody just kind of. I mean, look at all the movie stars, for example. Like they just air out all their grievances over Twitter, and it's wonderful. We can actually see what kind of people they are,
Yeah.
and then boycott their movies. So, but yeah.
Well, yeah, like I said, I don't know enough about him. I've heard bits and pieces about who this person is. I'd never even heard of him. The same way I had never heard of other people until they suddenly popped out. I'd never heard of someone like Alex Jones until after Sandy Hook. I'd never
Wait.
heard of I never have. I'd never heard of Nick Fuentes until Charlottesville. I don't know these people. I don't
Yeah.
keep up with that. I know I have my own hermetically sealed universe I live in, Rob.
I just thought you meant because you're from Texas. I just figured, you know, the local aspect. I know Texas is a very big place, to be fair.
Yeah.
I'm not that dumb. But I you know, Alex and whatever, maybe I've just spent too many years in conspiracy circles, but I just figured being from Texas, he would be more of a local commodity. But you know, if you don't know, you don't know.
We're far west Texas, and I can say I've only heard bits and pieces. I've never heard his broadcast. I
Yeah.
think Billy Corgan was on it one time, which
Yeah.
puzzled me. And I know I have a friend who listened to him, but with regards to Andrew Tate, he does say, in my personal opinion, and that's the whole point. It's his personal opinion. I don't have to agree with it. If I read what he said or heard what he said, I might agree, I might not agree, but I think you are perfectly free to express your views, even though I disagree with them. There's no such thing as the right view or the wrong view. They are your views. For all the people who go on about my truth and your truth, they don't want to listen to this person's quote unquote truth.
Yeah.
And it's puzzling. The same people again who say that um, that words are violence. They're also the ones who also say silence is violence. So you can't have it both ways. This person, you know, I would be very reluctant to deplatform him from anything. Not because I agree with him, but this goes back to the idea that it's not endorsing. You know, acknowledging something is not the same as endorsing it. The same way, for example, when they made a big to do of removing the portraits of I think House speakers that had once served in the Confederacy, and that suddenly meant that, oh, you know, we're absolving racism or whatever. No, you're trying to erase history. It's not an endorsement. So there's a difference between not allowing, but having something and endorsing it. These people who deplatformed him, they're now deciding that there's certain speech that they will allow. It's always amazing that the people, if they removed him off Twitter, it's always amazing that these are the same people that have no problem with the Ayatollah Khomeini, not Khomeini, going on about Israel. And that's fine. That's fine. But Andrew Tate says something idiotic about women, and that's just a bridge too far.
Well, it's either all okay or none of it's okay. And if we can't abide by that in a free society, we have serious fucking problems. And I know this is social media, and a lot of people will say it's trivial and not really about free speech because these are private companies. I say bullshit. It's like you literally avoid regulation and oversight by the government because it's been decided collectively that it's the new public square. I mean, this argument that you've probably seen on Twitter if you're into these issues. And it's like, I believe in that wholeheartedly because it's like you operate in this country and you you basically slap those of us who believe in the Constitution in the face, you know, and those are the people who think that they're not going to be targeted. It's okay because they won't come after me. It's just like, historically, does that really ever work? I don't think so.
Yeah, so like my whole thing with like Andrew Tate is, like I said, I've been aware of him for a while now. I don't really seek out any of his content, obviously, because listening to his stuff, he plays into a lot of that MGTOW type audience, where a lot of the guys that listen to him are guys that probably don't have good, luck with women, and don't have like good skills like talking to women. Because if they did, you probably wouldn't be listening to him in the first place. But the thing that gauged me about the reaction about this was that they were specifically trying to hammer down on these media articles saying that, oh, his views are dangerous, like they're dangerous, and they kept hammering that point out, dangerous. Like, what's dangerous about what he's saying, right? If he's just to sit there and like tell guys, hey, don't go after whores, settle for better women, demand women be better as a man, is that a dangerous view? Who's actually going out there and being hurt by him saying stuff like that? That doesn't mean you have to agree with what he's saying, but where's the dangerous part of it going? And I think they use that term because they use it trying to justify the censorship they're hammering down on this guy, because they're making it sound like that this guy's like the second coming of like Mussolini, when he's basically just like a fucking life coach with a fucking a Lamborghini who's probably worth a couple $1 million. Like, who cares at the whole end of the day? But as Cassie said earlier, now you've taken this guy who probably had a few male fans out there that like the things that he said, and you just made this guy a martyr. So now he's going to be an even bigger deal than he was before if he had just left him alone. The real problem is that a lot of the stuff that he was saying was getting a lot of views. It was gaining a lot of popularity, right? And why is that? This is because there is a section of men out there that identify with the things that he's saying. And if that's the truth, then that means that there's a societal problem between men and women out there that certain people don't want to address. Because in order to address the elephant in the room, that, hey, maybe some of the things that this guy is saying he does have a point on, they want to be like, oh no, your guy has no point, he's a misogynist. Like, okay, so you're just going to completely like unperson him from the internet now because he can't have an Instagram account because he doesn't have certain views about women that you like now because he's getting too much traction. So the whole BS around the censorship, don't matter how you feel about him one way or another, he's not dangerous. He isn't going to put anyone's life in danger by the things that he's saying. He's not saying anything that's going to put anyone's life in danger. He's pointing out that there's problems in this society, and there's people within these private companies that are really just multinational billion-dollar corporations that we pretend like they operate the same way as like a mom and pop grocery store, that they don't want to admit, they don't want to talk about, because it goes against the agenda that they're pushing. So anyone who becomes too popular in that realm, it's like, nope, we have to silence him before too many people start listening to him.
You know what it is? From what I've seen, it's mostly not, it's not even necessarily him that's the issue. It's more so the amount of content that's made from like YouTubers and stuff making videos discussing everything that's going on with him. And it's like, look what's happening. Now, we never even discussed Andrew Tate before. This is the first time. And it's like, I'm pretty sure they wanted to alleviate this discussion on this dude. Yeah. But by getting rid of him, you've just encouraged it even more. Yeah, because the Streisand effect is real.
Yeah, this is I was going to say, this is exactly the Streisand effect.
Exactly.
And what you are listening here, in order to have a debate, in order to have a discussion, you need a free flow of ideas. You need to be able to hear both sides. You just can't say, okay, your side is wrong, and I've declared it wrong because it's, quote, dangerous. That's not a debate. That's not a discussion.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. You need to have, as idiotic or as outrageous as what people say, you need to be able to hear them so you could hopefully rationally debate and discuss issues. But if you decide, okay, we're just going to silence this man and we're not going to let him speak, you are now deciding. You are now doing that censorship. And when you do that, eventually you're not going to be able to speak freely. You're either going to have people be afraid, or you're going to do what Cassie says. You're going to drive them underground, and it's going to be worse.
Yep, because I can guarantee you this: had they not banned this dude from every social media platform, we probably would have never brought up his name on this podcast whatsoever. No one would have. There would have been no reason to. It's like, okay, he's some guy on the internet that talks about women. It's like, who honestly cares outside of that little bubble, right? Like I said, now you've created something bigger than it ever would have been if you had just completely left it alone. It's like natural recourse would have been the dude probably would have been played out in a few months anyway, and then he would have just been a thing that people remember like from the past. But now you've made him, like I said, a martyr to these people who already have issues with society as this. Like you've made this significantly worse on top of all this by doing this. So
you know what it reminds me of, though? It's very weird, and maybe I'm completely off base here, but it reminds me kind of like the Bonnie and Clyde, like in Natural Born Killers, how that movie is kind of about the media's playing up of serial killers and violence and crime and like almost having this friendly relationship with it. It's just, I don't know. It's sort of, that's what it sort of reminds me of, is that social media is just sort of like, it's a swallowing whole, these people that it's supposed to be a platform for. And it's like, you end up saying, well, this is not safe, or this is a danger to people's welfare. And it's like, it's ideas being shared. You're literally saying it's dangerous to exchange ideas, which is the premise of like, what was it? Ray Bradbury's like, where they're burning books basically.
Fahrenheit,
Fahrenheit,
451.
451. And so it's just like, what is wrong with this picture? It's like, this is not good.
And then the people who say that, oh, it's dangerous to allow you to speak like that, they're the same people who will tell you with a straight face that they're the ones fighting fascism.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up too. Like we live in a postmodern society at this point, and I'm just waiting for the day when it'll finally die. Unfortunately, it'll probably give rise to something worse, like fascism.
Yeah, and they keep pulling stuff like this. Like, this is how you eventually get fascism. You keep telling people what they can and can't say, and try to do other shady stuff, like make people eat. Like, this is how you're gonna get eventually what you keep complaining about. Like you said, as a peaceful society, a society is just left alone to their own devices. But when you try to take all their devices away and force them to act the way you want to act, that's when things get messy. But some people don't want to hear that because they're too stupid to comprehend that. But
it's symptomatic too. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's symptomatic in the sense that like there's obviously a larger problem at play. Where the postmodern society does kind of, the postmodern society or whatever, it does kind of understand that its time is limited. And I think this is a nice distraction. If you can keep people distracted long enough, they won't notice other things. And I think this is kind of like, it's a good example because people are starting to realize that silence is not violence, words are not violence, and actual violence is actual violence. And I think that, just like seeing how more of the unpleasantries in society have played out, like, how's that free sex stuff working out, huh? And how many millions of dead babies do you want in your backyard? It's really starting to play out, and we're starting to see more repercussions from the lies that we've been told, that your truth is fine, and you have your truth, and I have my truth, and the hypocrisy of that. And how it's played out have led itself to such destruction, like utter destruction of the family, of men, of masculinity, of healthy relationships between men and women, between individuals in society, like I don't know Andrew Tate, right? That's his name, right? Yeah. And the only reason I heard of him at all this week is because Ryan Long did a comedy sketch about him.
Funny. Right.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know who this person is, but that's funny. Yeah. So it's kind of like this breaking down. It's like, okay, this guy is, let's ban him. Let's get him to stop talking about these things, and that'll just kind of it'll give a couple ripples here, shut them up eventually. It's a matter of like, at the end of all things, who is right? The person that is actually right, the person that's shouting it the loudest, or the person that has the most power behind them in this might equals right type of thing. And that's kind of what's kind of coming crashing down on us slowly. And I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to it. So Yeah. So
Well,
there you go.
Jacob, I just want to say
Postmodern
thank you
suck.
for. Sorry, uh, Jacob, thank you for bringing up Mussolini. Normally, most people would have picked Hitler. I'm glad you picked
Yeah.
another fascist dictator, and I'm
Well,
pulling for when you bring up Franco. You know,
well,
we gotta get a Generalissimo in there somewhere.
you'll get in trouble these days just for pointing out that Hitler wasn't even the worst mass murdering dictator in world history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, if we're going based off of body count, there's quite a few names on there that have killed a lot more people than Hitler did. But you're just
Yep.
saying that will get you in trouble.
The
But
20th century was like, I swear, like the Murderers Row, the Yankees, that 1927 Yankees
Yeah.
team. That was like the 20th century of like murderous dictators. It was like they were all competing with each other. It was Mao and Stalin and Hitler, and I'm sure there's plenty I'm not thinking of
Mussolini and
that are
Pol
lesser
Pot.
known. Right.
Yeah.
So Pol Pot, So I'm, but and then you have Genghis Khan back in the whatever century he ruled in. So, I'm not comparing because it's like all awful when you look at it in the large
Yeah.
scope. Jesus.
all right, then. Well, this is the time of the show where I let Cassie go off on one of her tangents because we're talking about one of her favorite topics this week. That is Saints Row. Now, I didn't know much about this game. I heard it came out this week, but the amount of tweets that I've seen this week about this video game, it's broken. It's busted. The dialogue is terrible. The graphics are not very good. The story is bland. And for people, I don't know how long people have been waiting for this game, but there's not a lot of happy people here about this video game's release. But I'm gonna let Cassie go on a little bit of detail about why this game sucks. I'm even gonna give you a little bit of spotlight here. Just tell everyone why this game is trash.
Well, I think it's important to discuss the significance, especially culturally, for the Saints Row franchise. Now, Saints Row is a franchise. It's like GTA has been a spoof, but Saints Row has been like, yeah, hold my beer. We're going to show you true spoof. And it's the most, arguably, I can't think of a game that's more politically incorrect than old school Saints Row has been. And that is no longer a thing. The developers Volition came out pretty much early on and said, yeah, we're rebooting this franchise. It's essentially not going to be what the franchise is known for. We're going to be politically correct. Oh, we don't want to punch down on people. We want everyone to laugh together instead of making fun of someone, sort of deal. And it has resulted in consistent backlash for a while. You have a good portion of the Saints Row community. It's like, this is not Saints Row. This is complete bullshit. Then you have the other part of the Saints Row community that just that's willing to kowtow to anything just to get a new Saints Row game, basically simping for it. And the game itself has come out. Essentially, every key factor of what makes Saints Row is not present. Yet it's very PC. It's very politically correct. It doesn't have licensed music like the old school games do. The characters don't even look like gangbangers. They look like fucking losers from your local high school anime club. One of the characters literally looks like Steve Urkel's fucking grandkid, and he's supposed to be one of your on foot soldiers, not like the nerd behind the computer. No, he's one of your foot soldiers, your main right hands. It's like, this is, y'all are fucking like insane. I mean, and then on top of it all, on top of the fact Volition said, look, if you don't like all these changes, go fuck yourself. On top of it all, the game comes out in terrible, glitchy condition in which a lot of crazy shit is happening in the game. The stability of the performance of the game is terrible. It's basically an enormous mess that is just a regurgitated generic open world game that has zero identity, and that's where the industry as a whole is headed. And the fact that they managed to destroy Saints Row in this way goes to show where the industry as a whole is now. They just want to make generic bullshit that doesn't take chances, that just wants to be run of the mill and play it safe. And it's sad to see the most politically incorrect franchise go PC.
Now, real quick, one last question I wanted to ask you because we did talk about this a few weeks back about the GTA game, how GTA looks like they're going to make the exact same mistakes that Saints Row did in their game. Do you see this as a preview of what we're going to get with GTA, or do you think somehow this is managed to be worse than what could possibly come
Oh,
out with
this
GTA?
is worse than anything that Rockstar can do. I mean, the Rockstar, it's gonna hurt more because they're saying that we're gonna be PC. But I will give Rockstar this in terms of mechanics, in terms of um like basically crafting games, they're really good at that. Like every time a new like Rockstar game comes out, you always see all these effects, physics, like all this stuff is pretty top notch. It sets the high ground for the industry. So on that front, Rockstar, like people will play the next GTA, even if it's a lackluster story, even if it's lackluster characters, because for the most part, the gameplay is going to be innovative. Now with Volition, they're like they're kind of like your run of the mill dev team, and it shows in the game itself. There's no redeeming quality about Saints Row, the reboot. It plays like shit. It's a generic open world sandbox game. The performance of the game is fucking abysmal. There's nothing I could say is worth checking out the game for. Every key factor of what makes a video game is a shit show. So
Well, one little devil's advocate with that too. You said that Rockstar is great at crafting stories and whatnot, but wasn't that the old guard that just got booted out of Rockstar? Are they still around though?
so a lot of the key people behind Rockstar Games, they are leaving. Story wise, it's looking bad. I don't know how. I can't really say for sure that everything gameplay wise will be good, but they are a big company. They're a big team. I think that in terms of gameplay, they'll at least be decent. It'll probably be better than the average, at least I could say. Now, that's not normal of Rockstar. Normally, they do go above and beyond when it comes to that stuff. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we haven't seen GTA 6. All we know is the leaks. So, we have to wait and see. But it's gonna suck when GTA also is a politically correct, lackluster experience. That
Yeah,
is
it doesn't look very good for the world of video games coming up here. Now, like I said, I know you guys aren't the biggest gamers in the world, but if you guys have any thoughts on Saints Row being a dumpster fire, go ahead and just share them now.
Well, just
Well,
real quick, like I grew up with Grand Theft Auto. I never played Saints Row, but to hear that it's more politically incorrect makes me want to go play those games now. So, but look, I find it remarkably sad that just to speak on GTA real quick,
Yeah.
I playing GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, I would have never believed that they would deviate from what has made them so successful and so rich as a company. I think they're fucking crazy to go away from their bread and butter. So, and again, I like other stuff Rockstar's done. I like Max Payne. I like I can't even think off the top of my head right. The L.A. Noire, Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, there's multiple games I've really liked from them, and it's really disappointing that now they're basically kneeling to whatever curry favor with the intellectual mob.
well, my point again, not playing video games, not knowing anything about them really is what who is the target audience for this revamped version? It's alienated old fans. I don't think it's going to win over new fans because even if you make it all PC, it's not going to call me to play it. And so, what's the actual end game for all of this? Putting it to something that I might understand. This happened with Doctor Who, where they changed it to bring in a female doctor because we needed a female doctor, and that didn't bring in new fans. I mean, it maybe brought some that were curious, but then they dropped off. And so now they switched it over, and they refuse to say that the change was or the the woke elements that were put on the show had anything to do with the ratings dropping. Now with
it
with
wasn't
regard,
us.
no, not at all, not at all. But now with regards to this game, and I take it that it's probably much more violent than GTA, which I've never called it GTA in my life, so it's a first. Uh, I understand that it's probably more, and I always thought naively that GTA was much more violent and it was scandalous.
They're both in a very similar vein. Like they're about as violent as it gets, both of them.
Yes, but again, who when they make these changes, they have to ask themselves, and very seriously, who is our target audience? Uh, are they going to like the changes? Are they going to want the changes? And from the sounds of it, most of them say no. We don't like these changes. We don't want these changes. You're forcing them, and for what? To curry favor with some internet blogger or some uh, grand reviewer who's not going to play your games. That's why they changed the doctor into a female, because they were going to get the applause and they were going to get the points, and people were going to say, "Oh, how wonderful! We finally have a female doctor." But those people that were saying, "Oh, I might watch the show now," they didn't. They watched maybe 1 or 2 episodes and then they left. And then the majority of the fans who stuck with it, they weren't going to watch, because it just became an endless series of woke lectures. And even the very hardcore Bernie bro that I know, he hated the changes. So we found common ground in that. Same with this Saints Row. If you're going to change it, why are you changing it where it's not what drew the fans in and what the fans wanted to see? Instead, you're going to give them something that they don't want, to please people that are never going to play the game, or that maybe will play it once and then that's it. They're going to have this game so that children could play it, because yes, we want children to start playing a nicer version of gangland violence. I don't understand the end point. I don't understand the final point of all these changes. It's obviously not pleasing the fans. It's not going to bring in new people. Why make them? Why? What's the point?
You want good guy gangbangers, bro.
Yeah,
I
well,
know
I was
I'm
gonna say,
Mexican, but I'm not that Mexican. No raza here.
I was going to say the
No
fundamental problem with all of these entertainment outlets, whether it's video games, comics, television, movies, is that you have people in here. Let's just be honest; these aren't capitalists. They don't have capitalist mindset. They hate capitalism. So they're not, in their minds, they're not making content that's going to draw as many people as humanly possible. They don't think like that. And the reason why they're all around is because they're getting the backing of these multi-billion-dollar corporations that, hey, as long as the check clears for us, and we're just going to keep doing what we want to do because our paycheck is secure. So if your franchise goes down in flames and lose millions of viewers, or your sales goes down, it doesn't affect us, and we're going to keep giving you more crap until someone fires us, and then we'll claim discrimination after the fact. So that's the way that a lot of these people operate. But CS, let me ask you, as someone who probably wouldn't allow your kids to play these type of games, what do you think about just the existence of these games in general?
I probably
Exactly.
would be the devil advocate
Right.
at this point. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, because I don't like the idea of violent video games. I grew up, I remember watching Columbine on the TV live,
Yeah.
and the whole Duke Nukem thing that kind of came out of that, Grand Theft Auto came out of that. And I do think that there is like a certain level of desensitization that happens when you expose yourself to violence and more depressing and morbid things for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Eh, on some level, like they call it consuming, because you're consuming these things, and you are what you eat, and you are what you intake and you digest and you mull over. And some of that's, it's not a bad thing to be open-minded, I think, but it's also like you have to have a point where you shut the door, or all of your brain is going to fall out of between your ears. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, my kids would not be playing this.
Yeah.
So
Well, I can tell you this much. At least you can take joy in the fact that even people who love violent video games now can't even get their fix anymore, because all the companies have gone completely garbage. So, Yeah, that's where we are. Saints Row, dumpster fire. I'm pretty sure Grand Theft Auto, what is it, 6 is coming out soon. It's probably be even worse. But this is just the current state of our creative society now. You're not going to get anything that's actually good. You're going to get a watered down version of something that was far
I was
more
gonna say I
successful
wouldn't
years
even call
ago.
it a creative. I wouldn't even call it a creative thing anymore. You know, like I think I learned a long time ago that if you want something done, you got to do it yourself. You know, somebody's
Yeah.
got to do it. And if you really want those kind of games, I mean, like, learn to code, man. Just do it yourself.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, like seriously, create a fucking indie game and make that shit cheap and then watch it blow up. I mean, was the two of the most popular video games in the last like couple of years have been like Among Us and what's the other one? Fall Guys, right? These are very, very cheaply made games as compared to these major budgets that they're getting from these other mainstream outlets. And those games are far more popular because they're actually better at giving fans what they want. So yeah, go out there and create your own shit and maybe you'll strike lightning in the bottle.
Well, I mean,
well,
like you were saying, like before, with like the whole like they're gonna do what they want to do, and then they'll get fired, and they'll blame you for discrimination type stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's basically what it's come to. It's like people have realized what's popular. They've decided to like go in with what's popular, and instead of what's good necessarily, and they've thrown their lot in with it. And you know, maybe it is better in some ways, but it's also, you know, if it's not what you're actually, what the intent of the original thing was to set out, it is going to be a disappointment to people. You know, if there's one thing I've learned from being an author, you have to market these things clearly, and if you deviate from your audience, you know, too much, like, I mean, I genre hop for stuff, but I mean, like, I can honestly tell you, like, my worst selling book is probably my writing book, because its title is Good Writing is Like Good Sex, and I'm a pretty cool author. And if you read the book, it's just funny. It's not graphic or anything. But a lot of people were like, I don't know if I should read this. And it's like,
Yeah.
do you want to be a writer? No. Okay, there you go. I did the work for you. So,
Like, the thing is with this game, it's like the devs have been like, man, we're getting so much hate and we're not gonna kowtow essentially. And it's like, look, if you would have called this game anything else but Saints Row, if you would have made it a brand new franchise, you would not get the backlash that you've gotten.
You
It
also
is
wouldn't have gotten that much coverage though either.
exactly. It's like they want to have their cake and eat it too. You want to make something new, but you don't have the fucking balls to make a new franchise. It's just, well, we got to take this name, the name that made us. Saints Row made Volition. Like, I don't know this company for anything else other than Saints Row. And for them to literally say, we are ashamed of our previous fucking work, the work that made us what we are today, and we're going to change it. It's pathetic. This is a pathetic company. This is the second game that they made that's a buggy mess. Agents of Mayhem, they tried making Agents of Mayhem, and that came out broken as shit. It was a complete mess. I never even bothered playing it because it was a shit spinoff to Saints Row, to now making another buggy piece of shit mess. It's just like, at some point, you know, how does your company still exist?
Yeah.
It's intellectual property. It's intellectual property and franchise cannibalization, because the same thing has been going on in the movies for the last 10 years. And we see this. We see it with the Wednesday Addams Netflix show. We see it with Ghostbusters. We see it. You want to use the thing that that people know and that they has a fan base, but you don't want to give the fans what it is they're looking for and what they expect and the standards they've come to expect by your product. And it's a slap in the face to anybody who grew up with basically better, video games, better movies, better TV shows, and it's like they still want to try to slip one by us. And it's like, dude, go.
Well, this is kind of why.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish your rant.
No, I was just going to finish up by saying, like, you don't know what you basically don't know what you're talking about, and you're completely full of it.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. And I was going to say, I can give a wonderful, wonderful, hilarious example of this, because I give it up. And when I talk about my own work, it's like So like the first time I heard of Beyonce Knowles, I did not listen to a lot of secular music.
Yeah.
But the
No
first
Destiny's
time I heard
Child.
of, yeah, okay, so like the first time I heard about Beyonce Knowles was in Austin Powers, the third one. And if you think about that as my first point of reference for
Yep.
Beyonce Knowles, everything, every time she trends on Twitter, I just laugh.
Yeah.
Right. No, I just real quick.
So,
I didn't know Beyonce very well at all. Like, I think I vaguely knew she was in Destiny's Child, like with Kelly Rowland and whatever. But
mhm.
it was just like, oh yeah, she's in this new Austin Powers movie, like whatever. Because like it came out like the last day of 8th grade,
Yeah.
and I went to go see it. And I was just like, oh yeah, sweet. But yeah, no, it's very similar. Where it was like I was pretty far along in the 2000s. It was like I don't know who this person is.
Well, you need to
Yeah.
check out Obsessed, where she tries to be like a serious dramatic
Oh,
actress.
God.
Bless
Let's
her
do it.
heart.
We should watch
Oh.
it. Let's do it. Let's make fun of
Damn it,
Beyonce.
get it on there.
God.
Yep.
But
But I mean,
I
like
think
Beyonce
I'm
today
sorry.
though is like this. She's got this the branding thing like is down. Like nobody thinks of Foxy Cleopatra when they think of Beyonce other than me.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
maybe that's a good thing. So, you know, 'cause,
Yeah.
I
Well,
think anything
yeah.
else
I
is
mean,
good.
look at. I mean, like even when I taught high school, people were like, I showed them pictures of Foxy Cleopatra because I'm like, why is she popular? What does she do now? How do you come back from Foxy Cleopatra? And they were like, what are you talking about? And they're like, oh my gosh, they saw the picture. It's so funny.
She's a whole lot of woman.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it was just it was just so funny. It's like I mean, like I know this. I know of this person. This is how I know of this person. How do you know of
No.
this person? And
It's a
changed
Pam
so much.
Grier ripoff, though. Like, I mean, that's the best part. It's a Pam Grier,
Yeah.
Foxy.
Yep.
Fox.
Yeah.
Well,
So, but I mean, like, so like building a brand is like that. It's like you start off small. Like, and when I tell people that like I'm like the Netflix of books, it's like I have all these different genres. They're all meant to entertain you in different ways. Like I'm a smart Netflix though because nothing I have is written like stupidly. I'd probably sell a lot more if I write stupider stuff. But I mean, like, can't help it, you know. And even when I try to write dumb stuff, it doesn't come out dumb. I feel bad. So
well, what I see, it's really. He's talking, but he's on mute.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
so
Beyonce fans turning to be a little bit psychotic, so you may want to watch out for that one too. So,
Queen Bey, you should
yeah,
have. She should have won the Oscar for original song. That's all we can say. She was robbed. I don't know
yeah,
what song won this year, but
is that the one that Kanye tried to steal from Taylor Swift?
yeah,
Or is it just a
yeah.
different
That was
thing?
her.
yeah,
Oh,
that was her.
okay.
But I would say it's easier hearing everyone. It's easier to ride on a brand than to create
Yeah.
something new and different. That's what
Yeah.
happened with Saints Row, as I gather. That's what happened with Doctor Who. That's what happens when you remake a lot of these films, and you think you can improve on them. Like, I mean, for
Mm-hmm.
heaven's sake, somebody remade Psycho, and there are other
Gus Van
remakes.
Sant. Yeah,
Yeah.
he did a terrible job.
Mhm.
Shot by shot remake.
Yeah, but it's just strange. That's why you have a lot of these remakes of established films. I think there was already, I think, what there's going to be a remake of Wizard of Oz down the in the works, and you think why the original works well. You don't need a remake.
Yeah, no, we're gonna do a Black Wizard of Oz, even though one already exists that was done better like 45 years ago.
By
Yeah.
Diana Ross. Yeah, The Wiz, right?
Ms.
Yep.
Ross, yes,
And Michael
I-
Jackson.
And Michael
too.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Michael
Yeah.
Jackson.
Yeah.
and Lena Horne. Don't forget, yeah, she
I have
popped
not
out
seen
there.
The Wiz, by the way. I've not
Oh,
seen
sorry.
The Wiz.
Spoiler alert: Lena Horne pops up.
Interesting
Okay.
to say the least.
But it's just brand. You could ride on the brand, and you can say, okay, here's a new Saints Row, and it's new and improved. Apparently, it's not new and improved, but it's much easier. It's much easier to coast on what's been built than to create something. I mean, that's probably why also we have a lot of these changes in characters where you have to change the ethnicity and change the
Yeah.
gender or gender identity of other characters, because it's much easier to have a I can't even think of an example right now, but I'm sure you guys can. It's much easier to have a character that's already been established.
I'll put it in a way that's far more elegant than Rick can do. It's much easier to bite off of somebody else's work than to actually present your own.
There you
And
go.
that's what we're seeing with a lot of these other people right now.
Mhm. And that's what's happening.
Yeah, well, we have one more topic that we want to go on. This one I dug up especially for Rob because this includes one of his favorite actresses in the entire world, Bryce Dallas Howard, who, while I was gone, complained about the fact that she wasn't getting paid as much money as Chris Pratt was for the Jurassic World films. So, yeah, this was something that came out last week, Bounding in the Comics. This is one of John's articles. So I saw this trending, and then there was two separate ways that this story was trending. One, it was she was basically trying to defend Chris Pratt by saying that, yeah, I wasn't getting paid as much as him until he spoke out for me and helped me get equal money. Then there was the other people who were trying to attack Chris Pratt by saying, why is she not getting paid as much as him? So let's talk about this story here for a second. Back in 2018, Howard earned $2 million less for the second film, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which fucking sucked. She only got $8 million from the role, where Pratt took $10 million for the role. So then she goes on and says that Howard wasn't happy with Pratt earning $2 million more than him, despite being a huge draw in the face of the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. So that's probably why he got paid a little bit more, and she didn't. So she ran to Insider to complain, and she said that when we were negotiating for Jurassic, it was 2014. It was a different world. I was at a great disadvantage. Keep in mind, this is the daughter of Ron Howard, too, by the way. And unfortunately, she signed up for 3 movies. You're on, those deals are set. So when she signed up for the franchise back in 2014, she agreed that she was going to do a certain amount for the first, a certain amount for the second, and a certain amount for the third. That's usually how Hollywood does their roles, right? But this is right before Me Too, when everyone was complaining about not getting equal pay to their actual co-stars or stars of the movie, if you want to go that far. And she said that what I would say is that Chris and I have discussed it, and whenever there was an opportunity to move the needle on that stuff that hadn't already been negotiated, like a game or a ride, he literally told me, don't guys say, you guys don't even have to do anything. I'm going to do all the negotiating. We're going to be paid the same. You don't have to think about this, Bryce. So essentially, Chris Pratt went at bat for her to get her more money, because I'm pretty sure she talked about the fact that she was upset that she didn't get paid as much as Chris. And then, like I said, he went at bat for her and got her more money. He said that I love them so much for doing that. I really do, because I've been paid more for these type of things than I was ever paid for the movie. She's referring to the first movie once again. So I want to pause here, and I want to give Rob the microphone here. I kind of gave it to Cassie. Rob, why don't you explain to people exactly why Bryce Dallas Howard did not get paid the same amount of money that Chris Pratt did? So go ahead.
Yeah, so when actors are negotiating with their agents and with the studio for major roles, it's largely dependent on what their past, box office success cum, generally is. And Chris Pratt is a lot more successful with his projects than Bryce Dallas Howard. Bryce Dallas Howard was in The Help, which I just watched for the first time today. She was in, Lady in the Water with M. Night Shyamalan. But before Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom, she wasn't in many notable roles, many movies that brought in a large box office haul. So there would be no justification to offer her the same money that Chris Pratt would be making, being a larger star, being in vehicles that sort of, showcase his action background. But yeah, I mean, that's basically it. It's just a business negotiation and decision by Universal. That's it. That's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, it is one of those things where I hear so many people complain about, how, well, I'm not getting paid as much as like this star, right? And this was a thing back when the Avengers started years ago, because when they went through like the first phase of the MCU. A lot of those guys outside of like Robert Downey Jr., because he had did like 2 Iron Man films before the first Avenger film came out, they weren't really making that much money. I think Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, and I think like Scarlett Johansson only got paid I think like $2 million for their first like solo movies or to be in those movies or whatnot. But that was because they knew that they were going to be making more films down the line, and they were kind of betting on the success that, hey, if this actually does become a popular trilogy, then yeah, we'll renegotiate with you down the line. You'll actually get more money. But the whole thing of equal pay just kind of takes away from the perspective of star power. And yeah, some people are just simply bigger stars than others, right? Like there's no justification for why someone like, let's just throw it out there, Chris Evans back in 2012 will get paid more money than Robert Downey Jr. Same argument about Scarlett Johansson, right?
Yeah.
Some people are just bigger stars than other people. That's what the whole concept of the money draw came down to. But what happened is that after Me Too, everyone started making these arguments that, oh, well, I'm not getting paid as much of my male co-stars because of sexism. It has nothing to do with star power and drawing power whatsoever. It's just because I'm a woman and I'm oppressed in Hollywood because Harvey Weinstein made me join him in his hotel room to get an Oscar nomination. So it's like, how do we even correlate those two arguments together? And here we are here. Let's be honest, Bryce Dallas Howard is not a big major part of this series. Like her whole claim to fame in the first movie was running from a T-Rex in high heels. Like that was kind of like a joke. And then like after that, it was like, well, we really don't know what to do with her character. She's just Chris Evans' love interest. So in the second film, she was like a dinosaurs' rights activist. And does anyone really remember what her role was in the third film? She was essentially a de facto mother to like the clone girl who doomed humanity in the end of the second film. So yeah, it's one of those situations where actors complain about this. And by the way, I want to throw this out here because Spencer is right. Terrence Howard was the highest paid actor for the first Iron Man movie because at the time, believe it or not, he was a bigger star than Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr.
was kind of a comeback.
Yeah, exactly. He was considered a risk at the time, but Terrence Howard was the bigger star. So when they came back to do the second movie, they didn't want to pay Terrence Howard as much as they paid him for the first movie. So they told him either take a pay cut or they were going to recast him. Obviously, Howard said that he wasn't going to take the pay cut, and then they ended up getting Don Cheadle instead.
And didn't Howard just come off Hustle and Flow, so he could get paid more being an Oscar winner?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oscar nominee.
So I think that's why. And obviously Downey was coming off of his Rehab. Not really having a lot of whole roles before Iron Man. But yeah, I mean, like one of the funniest things to me is just like the amount of revenue that these actors bring in. They use it like a political tool. They are a political argument. Like Michelle Williams saying, "I didn't get paid what Mark Wahlberg did," and it's just like you guys live in and work in Hollywood. This is not this is not a normal job. This is a power center where the amount of business you generate is what you generally negotiate with in determining what you're going to make on a certain project. And so it's just like it's not the real world in the sense of you have a marketable skill. I mean you do, but it's so exaggerated past what you would expect in a normal working environment.
What I would do is I would blame their agents. They're the ones that negotiated the contracts, and if they saw that that their co-star was making more, they should say, "Well, either bump up my salary or not." Or maybe you're just told, you're not as big a draw as Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt probably could open a film more than Bryce Dallas Howard could open a film.
Yeah.
And I just can't. I'm fixated on one point. She made $8 million. I would love for her to come anywhere in my job site and plead how miserable it is that she made $8 million to run around in high heels
Keep in mind,
against imaginary dinosaurs.
She made $8 million and then was still upset that Chris Pratt was making 10. Like, think about that for a second. Like, think about just the ego behind that sentiment alone.
Yeah, think about it. I mean, my take home pay probably after taxes is probably doesn't even crack $30,000 a year, I'm
Mhm.
supposed to feel great sympathy, and I have a master's, by the way. I'm supposed to feel great sympathy for this individual who made only $8 million as compared to her co-star who made 10. I mean, the $2 million difference, and I'm supposed to cry for you. Add to that the idea that oh geez, I just forgot my idea. Confound it. But it's well, I forgot. All I know is that $8 million is really nothing to cry about.
Yeah. And I also want to point out that before she did Jurassic World, the only movie that she was in for like 3 years before that was the very last Twilight movie. So that's what she was doing before she jumped into the Jurassic World franchise. This is the
And
person.
she's not a good actress. Can we get that on the table right now? I mean, I hold it against Bryce Dallas Howard probably because that's the daughter of Ron Howard, and she was in that terrible M. Night Shyamalan piece of shit called Lady in the Water that my mother loves, and I
Yeah.
can't stand it. It's just like, oh my, and it's like there's actually an interesting moment when the movie could actually hold your attention with Paul Giamatti's character, but then it goes off into some fairy tale bullshit. So like I can't take that movie seriously, and she just pisses me off anytime she shows up on screen. But yeah, I don't expect anything. She sounds like an entitled spoiled brat who grew up in Hollywood and was handed, basically $4 million after taxes.
You wanted her to be devoured by the dinosaur, didn't you, Rob? Didn't you?
Well, that would have at least given me my money's worth,
Well,
or close to it.
It's interesting though that in this is a rare case where Bryce Dallas Howard or a woman is not complaining about toxic masculinity, because he was going to take care of it. He was going to solve the problem. If she would have said, "No, I will go and make my case as to why I should be paid the same amount as this guy who has been in massive franchises and can pretty much open a film and can even have a streaming television series and be massively successful in that. I'm going to make my case as to why I should be paid the same amount as this guy." But no, she let him take care of it. So I guess that's one case where male privilege does come in handy. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like she just wants to ride on Poppy's coattails. Like, just because your daddy is who he is doesn't mean you're supposed to make more money because of it. You make more money based on your own merits. And I don't watch these Jurassic World movies, but it seems as though her character is kind of like a throwaway. And
oh yeah.
And I think it's fair to say that there are a lot of roles that are in Hollywood for women that could be considered throwaways, because they're typically like a lot of them can tend to be more like the damsel in distress, or like this female is just going to be the girlfriend or wife character of main protagonist, and that just comes with the territory. Like that's just a part of it. And I mean, I guess it's rude as fuck of me to say this, but it's like, homegirl, you're in your 40s, and you're going to be desired less and less as time goes on. So get fucking used to it. If you want staying power, you're going to have to prove it on screen. You're going to have to earn bigger roles. You're going to have to prove that your name, besides it being your father's, is worth a damn. And it's not necessarily easy to do, but you still have to do it anyway. And if you don't like it, then go get a fucking job working at Dollar General, bitch. Like, I really have no sympathy for you. This bitch is whining after making $8 million. You got to be fucking kidding me, bro.
Yeah, I
because
agree.
Someone made $2 million more than her.
Oh, well. It's funny to me because it's like she could even claim like there's some kind of war going on, because isn't he like Arnold Schwarzenegger's son-in-law now or something?
Yeah.
So, the war of the Hollywood family dynasties.
Yeah.
I mean, show me a movie about that.
Right? I tell you what, I'd actually respect her if she just like unironically went, "Oh yeah, he only got that because he's Arnold Schwarzenegger's son-in-law," or something ridiculous like that.
Well,
Yep.
I don't think that was it Patrick Schwarzenegger who's trying out a career in film. I don't think that he's going to make as much money as Bryce Dallas Howard if they were in the same film. And
No.
what's going to be her argument? Is she going to say, "Oh yes, he should be paid the same amount as I'm getting paid"? I mean, sorry. I mean, not every daughter of a director can turn out to be Angelica Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say it's good on her for at least bringing Chris Pratt up in like the hero role on some level, because so many
Yeah.
women bad, no, man bad or not good enough,
Yeah.
something
Well,
like that.
yeah.
So, good on her for that.
Yeah. To that point, real quick, no, there's probably feminists out there that would still complain that it took a man for her to get a fair role. Like even like going against like giving him credit or whatsoever, they'll still try to find some kind of way to make themselves the victim of that, which is pretty sad, all things considered.
At the end of the day, these people support an industry that has purposely made itself modular, where you can just you can trade any actress for another one, any male actor for another. It's absolutely entirely modular. These people have no true skill sets that separate them from the next Tom, Dick, and Harry. Let's be real now. Like, I don't go out of my way to watch any of these modern day actors in Hollywood. Not like I do with classic traditional actors that were known to be to have a particular skill set, to have a particular reason to draw an audience. I'm not gonna fucking fangirl over her or Chris Pratt even. Like, at this point, it's like either accept the job or don't. If you don't like it, don't fucking accept it. Don't fucking stand on your soapbox and whine to me how you only made $8 million fucking dollars. I don't want to hear it.
Yes, I mean she could easily have been replaced for Jurassic World. What is it, the second one, whatever it was called, Dominion or whatever.
The
She, they,
awful one, which was Fallen Kingdom.
yeah, well, what okay, Fallen Kingdom. Sorry. All
Yeah.
right, she could easily have been replaced with another character altogether. I mean, there was no reason for her specifically. I mean, she was not that needed for the second or the third film.
Nope.
I mean, so what is she
No,
going
Ray
on
Wan was
about?
terrible.
I think audiences would have accepted a hot wife edition from the second movie. So.
But unfortunately,
Well, I mean,
we didn't get that. So
one of my sister's favorite TV shows in the early aughts to the late aughts was like that America's Next Top Model show, and they actually had a season. I remember because I was sick and I binged watched it. They had a season where they pulled see if she could compare to the models. And she made it up to third place out of like 20 some models just because she had better hair and makeup and everything like
wait,
that.
who made it
And
to third place?
like I don't remember what season, but it was that America's Next Top Model show with Tyra Banks, and they pulled off like this regular girl from the street this season.
Oh
And
God,
she's
yeah,
like
I
a
remember that.
blonde,
Yeah.
and she made it to number 3. And I was just, I mean, I get that it's probably a show, and they probably kept her on for drama reasons.
Yeah.
But but it's still like, she had just better hair, makeup, and she had poise coaching, and stuff like all this practice, and a lot of competition. I mean, a lot of the time. So
Yep.
yeah, Bryce. I mean, like Bryce Dallas Howard. Like I honestly heard her name and I thought it was a boy at first because I was like, oh, Bryce, who's he playing? And so I mean, they are very replaceable. So I mean, like she should be grateful. You should be grateful when you do good work and you get rewarded for it. And yeah, you should negotiate better because we have lots of opportunities for negotiating better. And I think that's the thing I hate about the feminist pay gap argument. It's like, look, just argue better for your career path. And they're like, well, it's not easy. And it's like, oh my gosh, do you hear how whiny you are? No wonder you get paid less.
Literally.
All right. Well. Here's a question. Go up to someone on the street, put up a picture of Chris Pratt, and put up a picture of Bryce Dallas Howard. Who is more likely to be recognized by just the average man or woman on the street?
Yeah,
Is it going to be Bryce Dallas Howard or is it going to be Chris Pratt? Who's the one that people are going to at least know or say, "Oh, that's Star-Lord," or even though that's the guy from Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
they're probably going to recognize him more than her. So what is her argument that she should be paid the same? The same thing with one of Jacob's favorites, the WNBA. Who is more likely to be recognized? Someone in the WNBA or LeBron James? Even my mom knew who he was, and she
I
doesn't. She
mean,
never followed basketball.
it took one of them getting arrested in Russia to get more media coverage than any of them ever deserved in their life.
Yeah.
So
That's the
yeah.
I
best
was actually going
known.
to say that. The only one I know is that one that got
Right.
arrested in Russia.
The best
Yeah.
known WNBA player is Brittany Griner because she was arrested and has been in the news
Exactly.
the last 3 months.
So
or
it,
whatever.
it gives a lie that you can't even get arrested if you're a WNBA star.
Yeah.
But it's sorry, it's a serious question. Who is going to be more likely to be recognized? Who's more likely to open a box office? Who's more likely to get audiences to come to see a movie? I mean, if you look at what is it, Maverick, were audiences going to see a movie with Miles Teller, or were they going to say, "Oh, we're going to go see the movie with Tom Cruise"? It's
Well,
not exactly the same,
and
but it's the name recognition.
and I mean, like if you kind of like would show people on the street a picture of each of them, Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, Chris Pratt is like a handsome, in shape, like well-defined man.
He looks great for his
Bryce
age.
Dallas Howard, no offense to the women out there, okay, is a homely looking, average white woman who has gotten by on her name, and that's okay.
Yo, Rob,
but
Rob,
she's
I
what?
was gonna go in on her on that same exact aspect. You said it a lot nicer than I
All
would
right.
have. So much so, I chose not to say it because I couldn't put it nicely.
Yeah,
So
no,
good on you for that.
Yeah, no, I'm a lot worse on Twitter. But no, that's okay. But no, it's objective. It's not even like, oh, hey, it depends on the person. It's like, no, Chris Pratt is objectively a more attractive, more alluring leading man versus Bryce Dallas Howard. She's just an average looking white lady.
I will say this, and I do stand by it. She is still far less insufferable than Jessica Chastain, and nothing is going to change that.
Yeah, I hate both of them, but yeah, Jessica Chastain's terrible too.
That's Academy Award winning Jessica Chastain to you.
Oh God,
that movie was terrible, by the way.
It's like if you don't, if you feel as though you can't get more money, then ask for more meaty roles that earn you more screen time, that puts you in a good light as an actress. Things that can earn you more depthful things, bigger parts, bigger pieces of the pie, essentially. And
but
like,
as we stated, she signed a 3-film deal knowing that there were going to be certain amounts to what she was going to get paid based on the film that she was in. And keep in mind, she was in Twilight before this film. She should be ecstatic that someone's willing to pay her $8 million to be in a movie that honestly she didn't really need to be in the first place. So I would just consider that a robbery and just cast a check. But some people want more.
Anna Kendrick was also in the Twilight movies, is way more talented than Bryce Dallas Howard. So, and you guys are like, who the fuck is Anna Kendrick?
I never found Anna Kendrick. I never found the appeal of her. I don't think she's cute or wonderful. And as I saw, she was doing some sort of commercials for some hotel chain.
Yeah, I know. Playing her up in the air character who fires people.
I didn't like that movie at all.
I did. I liked it quite a bit, but no.
She fell out of favor after she tweeted about watching free porn on the internet. So.
Wait, what?
Great.
She got what?
She fell out of a lot of favor with people because she tweeted about watching free porn on the internet. And people got mad at her on Twitter for not paying the
she got mad not because she was bragging about watching porn, because she didn't pay for the porn that she was watching, and that's why they got mad at her.
Well, like half the people were upset she was watching the porn. And the other half were upset she was watching the porn for free, not paying the.
Well, you
You
can't
mean
be
like
America's
they
sweetheart
themselves do?
and do that.
Mhm.
You can't be America's sweetheart and watch free porn.
Hey, look, there's some dudes out there that are probably spending fucking 4 or 5 figures on OnlyFans account, even though we're in a recession and inflation is through the roof. So I mean, some people you just can't rationalize with. But I
Well,
will say this real quick that Floyd Mayweather years ago said that boxing is like legalized bank robbing because of the amount of money that he got paid. The fact that she got paid $8 million to be in that second film, she could consider that legalized bank robbing. Like I said, that there was no need to have her in that movie at all.
so her argument is that basically she should be paid exactly the same, and this is as Chris Pratt, and this is the same argument that I hear from that or from what is it, the female soccer players,
Hmm.
and the one with the purple hair, she makes that same argument that she should
Megan
be paid
Rapinoe.
this. Yes, I don't know her name, Megan. I'll just call her
Yeah,
Megan
I'm
because I
sorry
don't know.
that I know.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I just last Saturday I went to the Locomotive San Diego Loyal game, and there were people afterwards still begging and pleading and throwing things at Landon Donovan to sign. I don't know if she would get the same reception if she retired and became the head coach of whatever team, and I don't see how you would compare the two in terms of name recognition. I don't
She
see.
wouldn't even get half the attention the 99 women's team, U.S. women's team would get because she's an insufferable bitch.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
that was on her people. Okay, she said that, I did not. But point being, I don't understand what her case is that she should be paid exactly the same. Was she on screen the same amount of time? Did she draw in as large a fan base as he does? What is her
Hey,
case? What is her case?
did her character talk to dinosaurs? No, because she tamed the dinosaurs by putting her hand up in the air and saying no. Could she do that in the film? No.
But she outran. Chris Pratt could never outrun a dinosaur in high heels. All right, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
He could never outrun a dinosaur in high heels. She could. Maybe that deserved the $2 million extra just for that.
Hey, I mean, you gotta get your money where you can get it, right? Well, we've reached the end of the show here. I'm gonna let you guys go ahead and chill all your stuff. It's been a great 2-hour show.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
dying over here, even though you can't hear it. So I'm gonna go ahead and let everyone talk. Let's
Thankfully.
talk to Rick, who joined us on a special barroom occasion. Maybe he'll join us for some more shows. So where can they find more Rick in the future?
Well, hopefully, I certainly enjoyed it, and baseball season's almost over. So right now, all I can show is my reviews at Rick's Texan Reviews and or Rick's Cafe Texan, and people still find me that way. I'm finishing up the reviews for the Summer Under the Stars, where I try to look at a film from a star that's featured on that day, and just keep working on the reviews. So that's pretty much it. My life is mercifully pretty quiet right now. So thank you for giving me a chance to speak here, and I hope to be able to join you more in the future.
Muted.
Oh,
We're
okay.
totally
You were-
muted, but okay.
You were muted. It's okay. I'm paying attention. Yeah, it was nice meeting you, Rick. So,
Well, same here.
yep. Anyway, my name is C.S. Johnson, and I'm a writer and just overall, just bubble of effervescent light. So, come find me on YouTube and Twitter at writer C.S. Johnson, and I do actually have a lot of stuff to shill, so I'll shill it on those platforms. I do have a new book out, this week. I got a couple of new books coming out this week, so I'm excited. I have my omnibus collection of The Order of the Crystal Daggers, historical spy romance, Cinderella meets Mission Impossible in 1870s Prague. Yep. So check it out.
All right, Rob, you're up next.
All right. Well, I'm basically finishing up my HBO Max list before August is over. I've watched something. It'll be like 80, 85 movies this month, which is insane. I think it's like my all-time high. But yeah, it's been crazy. I just have some things to finish up. and I'm completely blanking on them right now. Like Monsters Ball is in there. The big ship disaster movie that I can't think of right now.
Poseidon Adventure.
Thank you, the Poseidon Adventure. And so yeah, I'm just kind of finishing up some old movies that I'm watching, and I talk about them on my Twitter. My personal life's a mess, so my reviews will have to wait till next month, but they're coming.
Podcast is coming too. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, Cult Classic Cage. Where can they find you? I know you got a show coming up this week, which I unfortunately won't be a part of because I'll be doing 2 movies this weekend. But tell everyone where they can find you.
Well, you will certainly be missed. It's always good to have you on the podcast. But find me on Cult Classic Cage, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. This week we do have the Too Real for Feels podcast, where we don't give a fuck about your feelings, and we're going to talk a lot of video game news. I'm not sure if there's going to be any other entertainment. It's just all video games, man. There's a lot of stuff going on, at least for me. I get into the nitty gritty. I don't know if everyone else does, but it's going to be a cool show, and glad to be here as always. And yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of fuck people on that podcast. So definitely just you guys tune in for on this Thursday. As far as me goes, let me pull it back to myself here and let's see how far I can get past this. So tomorrow night we'll be doing the retro review. We'll be doing the first episode of that, and we'll be covering the 1984 film Night of the Comet. And hopefully our good buddy TW will join us for that one. That will be tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So we're going to go a little bit earlier for that one because a couple hours after that, I'll have to be on the Black Pill stream with myself, John, Spencer, and Josh for Bounding in the Comics right after that as well. So I'll be doing 2 streams tomorrow. And then next Monday night, we'll be back. Myself, Rob, and Rick will be doing another movie review on the Monday night show. And then we'll see you again here next Tuesday night for the Barroom podcast once again. So shout out to everyone who joined us in the chat tonight. I see some names on here. Spencer, who joined us. Duke Nukem joined us. Gray Watson, who was in the chat tonight. TW, obviously. I know Oz was there for a second. Make sure I get everybody else. I think I pretty much covered everyone. If I missed anyone, I'll definitely give you a shout out the next time around. But I think we covered everyone who joined us tonight. Until then, we're gonna head out. I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow night here on the YouTube and the Twitch stream. Let's go ahead and hit the theme that Josh likes, even though he's not here, which is the perfect time to play it. So we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Later.